Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, woo, football 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. Thank you guys for joining us. Lots to get into on the show. We'll talk about Thursday night football game last night and all the headlines. Tua with another unfortunate head injury. Looks like he's going to be out for a while. We'll talk about the result of that matchup. Big win for the Buffalo Bills. We'll also get into a matchup last night, also close to home, the Texas State Bobcats losing to the Arizona State Sun Devils last night in a Thursday night showcase for the group of 5 or group of 6. Man, I can't keep up these days. We'll dive into that. Also, speaking of group of conferences, the Pac-12 is still alive, in case you did not know. Still alive and actually expanding. We'll get into that and talk about it because they may be trying to get some Texas ties in that latest Pac-12 expansion. We'll also dive into the big college football matchups from the weekend, including, of course, the Texas Longhorns versus the UTSA Roadrunners. We'll dive into it and break it down and preview that. We'll also get into the Cowboys and Saints, the Texans, and their matchup coming up against the Bears in week 2 of the NFL season. Lots to dive into on the show today. So let's not waste any time. We got your usual favorites as well. We got what the facts, what the stats. We got who said that. We got off the record. We got their topic for the big fat poll of the day. All of that and more. But before we do, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew, because he's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. Got a hustler spirit, period. Not sure what he's paid, but pretty damn sure the man is underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It's our friend, co-host, and neighbor. It is Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Happy Friday the 13th.
Yes, sir. Anybody? There you go.
It's Friday, if anything goes wrong in your day today, just blame it on that.
Just gonna blame it on
anything
superstition. Yeah,
I just blame it on the superstition. Anything. I did have a fox cross my path today on the way into work. I don't know if that counts. It was not black.
Good luck or bad luck?
It was not a black. It was not a black cat. It was a fox. But
I don't know if there's anything associated with foxes.
I don't
necessarily.
know. I don't know if there is.
Yeah. It's true, but it did happen on Friday 13th, so now you're going to associate.
You have to associate
if
everything.
It is something bad, yeah. Now you're gonna be like, "Hey, don't let a fox cross your path."
We had something happen with the office yesterday with work. That was something just didn't get sent that should have been sent, and we all were like, "Ooh, Friday the 13th stuff," but it was
somebody just forgot to press send.
No, it wasn't actually. It was. I don't even know what was wrong with it, but we got it fixed, of course. But and then everything was going well last night, and then I realized I played James Cook in multiple fantasy leagues, so that was not great. He had himself a game last night.
I was gonna say, that's true. He and the Dolphins did not have a game. The Dolphins had a bad game. On top of that, lost their starting quarterback. It was just, if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, period, you are probably feeling, you're probably feeling woeful today. Because of everything that went down.
It's never good to feel that way on a Friday before Sunday. You don't want to be before Sunday already feeling like that. You want to at least get to your Sunday, enjoy your weekend, and then on Sunday your weekend gets ruined. They got
your college team is good if you're
true.
a Miami Dolphins.
Well,
so maybe you're a Miami fan.
Yeah, you got Cam Ward.
I was like, Miami's doing pretty good. Cam Ward's a Heisman contender, and they're doing pretty good. Hopefully, you're not like a Florida fan, because then you got potentially that could be bad. That's a big matchup. I think it is a big matchup. Actually, you hear that Connor Wigman's going to be questionable for that game too. There's now his status. Based on the injury report. Now, remember the injury reports thing? His status actually is in question for the Aggies. Says that he is it's going to be questionable versus Florida.
All right.
So that's not good. That offense didn't look good with Connor Wigman. I don't even know who the backup is. Maybe it'll look better. Who knows?
Who knows? That is the joy of college football. It's a little bit different than the NFL, where in college football you can pull the next guy up and you're like, oh, this guy's even better. In the NFL, usually not the case.
That guy's never better.
No.
In NFL, that guy's never better. The guy behind him is never. What is that? Maybe in Atlanta, that could be the case.
Brock Purdy, that happened, right?
Brock Purdy, that was one of them. Yeah, Dak. It happened with Dak when.
But Dak, I think Dak and Romo at that time were about the same.
Yeah, but Dak was third string. Remember, Dak was third string.
That's true.
He's not killing more.
That's right.
He's definitely
killing more. Yeah.
I hope so. But no, it's rare.
Kellen Moore, never the highest paid quarterback, never the highest paid player in NFL history. Pretty sure.
No.
I mean, I can go back and check the numbers, but I'm pretty sure he was never.
He never even coached the highest paid player in the NFL.
Let me introduce you to my co-host. He's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is a new Rod father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the intro as always, and we'll get to this Miami game. I was wrong about the Miami Dolphins. I thought they'd win that game, and I believe they were favorite, if I'm not mistaken, in that game. Just got whipped by the Bills. Bills defense, and the Dolphins had a lot of injuries, including, of course, Tua went out, but Tua went out when the game was already out of hand, in my opinion. I mean, it's like they are already down by two plus touchdowns, 3 scores at that time when he got hurt. But man, now the season for the Dolphins is in question. I don't know what you do if you're Tua at this point. Tua had already admitted that he contemplated retirement after the 2022 season when he dealt with all of the concussions, and there was 2, and then it was possibly 3. Remember, we couldn't confirm if it was a third.
Yeah.
But it was possibly 3 in 2022, and he did great. Didn't miss a game in 2023. So that's why they gave him the big deal. I think they gave him the big deal. Remember, the question was, should you pay a guy who may not be able to make it through an entire season and who may have to end his career prematurely? And that's obviously a serious conversation you got to have about a guy who's having multiple concussions in the same season. And he didn't have any in 2023. Like I said, had a series of them in 2022. And now I wonder what the conversation is between. I'm sure he's going to still try to play and everything, but now a long-term conversation about like Tua's health. And the irony of it is he was tackled by Damar Hamlin. That was kind of spooky. Damar Hamlin actually had a really good game. Yeah, he led the team in tackles too. He had 8 solo tackles in the game, so good for him. But the irony of Damar Hamlin, who, of course, dealt with a life-threatening situation, and God willing and God bless, he is back on the field and playing well for the Buffalo Bills. But he was the one involved in the tackle on Tua when Tua went down. It was a scramble on 4th and 4. Got the first down, got hit by Damar Hamlin, and then went down, and they saw what they call was the fencing pose. Posture, if you will, and that usually indicates there's been some neurological trauma. And so it's always, trust me, that is one thing the NFL does not want. You don't want it obviously for the player, but it is also something that is traumatizing for the public when they see it. And when they see that, it makes people think about their children playing football. But the NFL does not want you, not in a negative way. It makes you think about, well, I don't know if I put my kid playing that. It wasn't even a really hard hit.
Yeah.
And so it's all around is traumatizing for the players involved, for the fans watching, and then for the NFL, what they're really fearing is the soccer moms the football moms soccer moms who they're hoping they're going to be football moms. When they see that too, they are a little reluctant to let their kids play football. So there's a negative domino effect, no doubt, when you see that. So now Skylar Thompson is the backup for him. I think Tim Boyle is on their practice squad. Remember, they just cut Mike White at one time too. So, I'm not sure what the course of action is going to be for the Dolphins. Do they go get another quarterback? Do you trust Skylar Thompson as a guy? I mean, he did play in a playoff game for him. I don't know if they trust him to put their early part of their season on his shoulders. And then it's unfortunate, but you got to anticipate there's another one coming. One concussion makes you more susceptible to.
I mean, you don't even know if he's coming back.
You don't know.
You don't know if he's going to be able to come back, and you don't know if you're going to put him back on the field. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. You are still before the trade deadline. You couldn't make a move.
You might need to make a move.
I don't know how many people are still out there that are available for you to be able to make a move. But
you just talking about backups in the league and out.
No, it is. I mean,
how it's just tough. Yeah, it's tough to find a quality quarterback.
It's tough.
Go get Tom Brady. Go get Tom Brady.
You're not going to go get Tom Brady.
Why not? You already wanted him. Go get Tom Brady.
Because they're not good enough to get Tom Brady. And also, I don't think Tyreek Hill and
the Dolphins aren't good enough to get Tom Brady. No. Dolphins got weapons.
They got really weapons. I don't think that defense is good enough to.
The defense made some work, and they lost 2 offensive linemen in that game too. That's also what hurt them. They lost Teron Armstead and Robert Jones. Both were questionable to return. So, but you got to get no line for Tom Brady because he's gonna need it. He's old.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box, man. You got to think outside the box if you're Mike McDaniel now, because like you said, you may not get him back. Hopefully you do, but if you get him back, you got to plan on anticipating. Hey, what if something else, knock on wood, happens You got to be ready. Man, I'd at least text Tom. Text him. See what he's doing. See how he feels about it.
Didn't that get the Dolphins in trouble before?
It did. I'm saying you already got in trouble for it. Might as well now, actually. Hey, you know what, Mike? We know we want to do it, Tom. Let's just do it. Why not? You ain't doing nothing.
Well, you ain't doing nothing. He's broadcasting.
Would you rather be doing this or would you rather be broadcasting? And I guarantee you, Fox would be like, hell yeah, go do it, dude. That'd be awesome. Then we bring you back into the booth later. Go do it. Go do it.
Broadcasting for
but he's trying to become an owner too, so I don't know if he can do it because he's trying to become an owner.
Yeah,
that's what's getting him. That's what's gonna hold him back. That's the conflict.
You have to let go of the ownership.
Right? You gotta let go of the ownership to do that because it don't. That's stupid. We already agreed that's stupid because that ownership right now that can make him a billionaire if it works out.
No, like I mean, again, we've already discussed that his ownership, like the buy for 10% or whatever it was like $125,000 or something like that, and it's worth $600,000 already.
No, 600. It's worth 600 million. Right?
Sorry, sorry, 125 million for 600 million. Sorry, I said thousand. I meant million. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're right. No, it's a hell. Well, we don't know if they're going to approve. They haven't approved the sale just yet because they think it's something shady going on. They believe he's getting his
getting it
ownership
for like
stake
for
a
of a value.
Yes, a reduced amount. And like I said, Tom Brady should give up everything if he can get the stake in the Raiders because, like I said, that stake could make him a billionaire.
Yeah,
it could. I mean, in a few years, it could make him a billionaire. It'd be worth like $600 million already. And hell, once all you gotta do is get a quarterback in Vegas.
Yeah,
you get a quarterback in Vegas in there. Oh man, that value is gonna skyrocket, and then you can sell out, then we'll broadcast or do whatever you want to do. So, all right. So my Brady thing is unrealistic, but I'm just saying you need to think outside the box. You need to get desperate here, man. You need to get desperate if you're in Miami. I don't know what you do, but we'll see. But that's the sad news for Tua and for the Dolphins. Bills, though, I'll admit, looked way better than I thought. They're just a Josh Allen show. It's just a Josh Allen show. It's kind of fun watching him because he could win MVP just because it's all him.
Yeah, I mean, if they keep winning, for sure.
If they keep winning and he stays healthy, he could be in that MVP discussion because it's all him. It's pretty much the Josh Allen show. They don't really have any other weapons, and the offense totally just revolves around him. And the running game, I will give them credit. They did not necessarily make him the focal point of the running game, which they have in the past. James Cook, that was a quality investment by them. Over 7 yards per carry for James Cook. They don't wear him out; they use him.
Which they use him. It's 7 yards per carry, but it's kind of slighted because he had a big 49-yard run.
He did have a
so you say run. Most of that came in one run, so it's somewhat slighted, but he did get in the end zone 3 times, which the 2 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown.
Yeah.
So if you say he got in the end zone 3 times, that is getting your value right there because as Texas fans know, red zone can be a problem. Getting in the end zone can be a problem at times. And so for the Bills, if you have a guy that can do that and get you those points where Josh Allen can kind of work you down the field, and then you just have a big explosive back in James Cook that can get you a couple points in the game, it's really all you need. It's better than what they have had, where it was basically no running back and they couldn't trust anybody. And once you got a little bit closer to that end zone, it had to be Josh Allen, and he needed weapons because he couldn't run as much because the field shrinks. Mm-hmm. And so you have to have something else, and James Cook proved to be that in this game.
Yeah, James Cook to me is kind of the yards kind of per touch guy because they use him in so many different ways. And if you break down his game as like yards per touch, because like you said, he's going to give you that chunk yards. Had an explosive play on his only reception, and it was a touchdown. He's giving you damn near 8 yards per touch in that game. That's quality return if you're the Buffalo Bills. And I was wrong about the Miami Dolphins winning, but I will say I was right about the way they used Devin Achane. Because he did end up playing. And I told you, I was like, basically, they're turning him into their version of, at least Mike McDaniel's kind of version of Debo in that offense. They're going to use him in a lot of creative ways. And he essentially becomes their third receiver behind Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And, dude, he led them in receiving. He led them in receiving yards and rushing yards.
Yeah, it's funny because the way you were explaining it yesterday, too, you're like, well, Achane is more of a speed guy instead of Debo being a power guy. You're like, well, which one's the running back and which one's the wide receiver? It feels like that should be backwards, but
yeah, you're right.
It is.
That's true. It's a good point.
They kind of mix into each other of that Debo can go out and play wide receiver and be more physical, and Achane can technically be more physical because he's a running back. So he's used to being, getting touched around the line of scrimmage and getting, dealing with contact a little bit more. So they both fit in that role of being able to be speedy and withstand a little bit of contact.
Yeah, just guys who they find ways to be elusive. But I would say Devin Achane's got some surprising power to his game. He did force 9 missed tackles on those 29 total touches that he ended up having. He had never recorded more than 22 touches in a game in his career. So I'm not a fantasy guy, but I was just watching the way they use him because I like that Miami offense. So I did tell you they're going to use him a lot. I mean, so maybe so you should draft in your daily fantasy leagues, but it did not help them overall because the Dolphins offense, if they don't get the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, really that's the catalyst for everything they do. And so Buffalo did a great job, essentially just taking away their identity. They're like, if you're going to beat us with Devin Achane, please go right ahead.
Yeah.
And that's just not how they operate. And that's why even before Tua got hurt, they pretty much took the identity away from the Miami Dolphins, and the game was already out of hand. All right. We'll get back to some. I got a couple other nuggets I want to share about that game last night. And we'll talk about Texas State. Had a really impressive showing for a group of 6 school, but Arizona State got the win. So a thrilling, dramatic win and victory for Arizona State down there at Texas State. But we'll talk about that. But before we do, let's get updated. Let's get educated. Let's get informed with all the top stories of the day with my man Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros salvaged a game in their series with the A's with a 6-3 win. Framber Valdez pitched 6 in the third inning, striking out 6 and only giving up 1 run, and a 4-run 8th inning pulled the Astros to victory. The Astros now head to California to take on the Angels, with Yusei Kikuchi getting the start tonight. The Rangers got a 5-4 win over the Mariners, with Kumar Rocker making his MLB debut. Rocker had a solid start, pitching 4 innings, striking out 7, allowing 3 hits and only 1 run. Jacob deGrom is now scheduled to make his season debut tonight for the Rangers, followed by the return of Max Scherzer tomorrow. In college football, Arizona State was able to edge out Texas State with a fourth-quarter field goal to win 31-28. This weekend, a couple of traditional rivalry games will be played, including Oregon and Oregon State and Washington State, as well as some top 25 matchups like number 20 Arizona and number 14 Kansas tonight, and number 24 Boston College and number 6 Missouri on Saturday. And in the NFL, the Bills' James Cook helped lead the Bills to a 31-10 win over the Dolphins, scoring 3 touchdowns in the game. Tua Tagovailoa suffered a concussion in the third quarter and was down on the field for several minutes before being helped off. This is the third reported concussion of Tua's NFL career, and there is no timetable for his return. This weekend, the Saints will travel to Dallas to face the Cowboys, and the Bears and the Texans will meet up on Sunday Night Football. And that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. You got to think that the Dolphins put something in the contract that would allow both parties to, emancipate themselves of the situation if Tua wanted to retire early, and if the Dolphins felt like, hey, man, your health is in jeopardy. We don't necessarily think it's responsible to keep putting you out there if you are, accumulating these type of, repeated head trauma over and over again. Because after a while, you get so many concussions. We're talking about a deteriorating neurological effect here.
Well, yeah, and
I do wonder if they put something in there, like medically, like, hey,
they become easier and easier to get the more you're
more susceptible to them. Yeah.
And that's, I think, that was a perfect example of it last night. That wasn't
a hard hit.
That did not. And how bad it was. Like, I get you get your bell rung on that one, which I know is a outdated term at this point. But that's one where you may get it and come back and you're a little cloudy in the huddle and you're like, wow. But to go into the fencing and be like, no, your body literally seized up and was telling you, please stop doing this. Because that's basically your body trying to defend itself while you can't move, is that fencing position. And so to have that happen on a play that was kind of small, it really does have to worry you a little bit more. They're like, well, how much more is this? And how many times can we put you on the field before we're stretching you off and you're not able to move?
And that's what point the NFL is going to say at one point, listen, man, we have a lot of scenes that have been traumatic for you and are obviously putting your health in danger, but actually for our brand and our sport, for us to continue to say that we are promoting player safety and stuff like that, and then just allow him to, if this happens again, I think we just, unfortunately, I don't think it's the last one for him.
Well, no, and I mean, and this is always a thing that's kind of like, it just annoys me when people blame the NFL for all the concussions in the world. And
no, it's not. I'm not saying that either.
But no, my point is, I know you're not saying it, but my point is that means that if we say, even if we go with the most conservative of estimates of 3 NFL concussions, which we know has been more.
Oh yeah.
So we go with the most conservative is 3. Then we say he's probably got 1 or 2 in college. And he's definitely got 1 or 2 beforehand. Before you learn how to play football right, you definitely we all had some concussions when we played football when we were kids because we didn't know how to play right. And so you get hit in the head a lot more and you fall and hit your head more. It just happens. So, I think that there's somewhere you go, this is probably, we're getting close to double digits for
him. Like I said, the ones that were reported, you're right. It's been at least 3. Have been reported for him at the NFL level, as you pointed out.
No, I remember hearing a thing, Julian Edelman, I think it was, talking about that they used to have where when someone would get hit like that, the teammates would run over and they go, "What day is it?" And they would tell them all the answers that were in the concussion test. So the guy would get up and they'd go over the sideline. And this is before the advanced concussion protocol they have now. But you would get up and you go over and they go, "What day is it? What's your name? Where are you at?" And he would just repeat what the guy just told him. And they go, "Okay, you're fine," and you can stay in the game.
Peyton Manning admitted that years ago.
Yeah, and he
admitted that that's what players were doing, like even before the Julian Edelman thing. He admitted that years ago that was kind of standard protocol in the league to cheat the concussion test, and that's why they made it more advanced and had to go into the tent and you got to see a separate neurologist and all that kind of stuff. But no, I'm with. I just wonder at one point, I'm not wishing bad things at all. Obviously, I hope the best for Tua, but man, just being realistic about the situation, it does seem like now we're getting to the point where he's more vulnerable and more susceptible to head trauma than most. And by the way, I think that's just the reality of it. We're all built differently.
Mm-hmm.
There are some guys who go their entire careers playing really physical positions and they never have to deal with head trauma. Nope. They never have to deal with concussions. And it's like I said, everybody's built a little bit differently. And there are some guys, they're just a little bit more vulnerable to it for whatever reasons. They haven't been able. The reason that the science for CTEs and concussions is slowly, I think, starting to become more and more advanced. Number one, we're starting to pay more attention to it. But number two, they can't study CTE in live patients. They can't even determine it in live patients. They can only determine CTE at post-mortem. They can only do it after somebody's passed along. So one of the things that they are striving for right now is to try to find a test that can basically give you your range of CTE damage or neurological damage to be able to do that while players are still alive. Because right now, basically the studies that they've done, Boston University did the most thorough study of CTE, and their numbers said that 91% of the former NFL players that they studied ended up having some form of CTE. I think there are 4 different kind of stages of it, if you will. And when they studied, guys who had just played to the college level, I believe the number was, it was like 70% or something like that. So the truth is, if you've played the game, long enough, probably to the NFL level, played it through college, there's a good chance you probably, 70% chance that you might have some form of it. Not maybe the most severe form, but just a form of it. Chances are I do. That's just the reality of playing the game that long. Like I said, their study says 91% of current and former NFL players have CTE based on their study.
Yeah.
It's so I'm just saying for some guys it affects them very differently, and I think for Tua, unfortunately, he just may be one of those folks where it affects them very differently. But the NFL, he will force people to have to examine that data again and look into CTE and the concussion crisis. And trust me, the NFL does not want that. They want us to not talk about this. They don't want that stat out there. They don't want you talking about it and reflecting on it, because they won't. Then moms start talking about it, And they start reflecting on it, and then mom starts saying, "Oh hell no!" Because if my kid plays, even if he's a successful football player, so you're telling me the price I got to pay is he's going to have CTE? And like, most likely, and it's like, well, no, play soccer, go play something else. It's like, well, I mean, that's what the NFL is dealing with, and they don't want to have that conversation. Tua forces us to have that conversation, which we should be having those awkward conversations. They help, advance us as a society, but that's just the number. That's the reality of it. And I think for Tua, at one point, he's going to have to consider the long-term effects of it. Right now, it's easy because he can survive and move on, but there is damage being done, irreparable damage being done. We just won't see that for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, it's a sad thing to see. Not what you want to see in football, but it's an unfortunate reality of football.
Yeah. Like you said, you can't deny the numbers and the science.
No.
The NFL would like you to, but you can't deny
that. And that's the NFL right now. It's sad because their basic point is, well, we're cleaning the game up. We're making it safer. So those CTE numbers are from when the game was worse and more violent. So the numbers will go down. So you're like, that's probably true to an extent, but also not. So it may not be as bad, but that's kind of the NFL's excuse right now, or at least their statement is, we get that, but you're talking about guys that played in the 70s and 80s and 90s this was different era, and guys were getting their head taken off, and we don't allow that anymore. So it is a much safer sport, which it is for the most part. However, you're still going to have those. You can't get rid of it completely. We saw the Guardian caps have started. There's been the first players to start wearing Guardian caps have happened. And they're like, I know it looks changing. Yeah, the kickoff rule, but the Guardian caps people are like, I know it looks stupid, but I don't want CTE. So I'll wear whatever the best thing is. I get to live my dream playing football and be a little bit safer.
Yeah. Shout out to Dr. Eckert, because he's gotten in on, this discussion as well with Brain Vault. It's essentially kind of a revolutionary mouthpiece. Because that's also a part of concussion. It's the trauma that you get not only with the impact, but then like your teeth, obviously the impact of your teeth, like clacking together, all that kind of like it's a very in-depth science to all of these preventative measures for head trauma. But Brain Vault, and he does a great job. I think he does a great job with like high schools, some college players as well. He's got some NFL players now that are also those advocates for Brain Vault. So that's some of the research too. I know he's been doing his best to spread the message about that. There are, like you said, the Guardian caps, things like Brain Vault. The NFL's trying. I'm not saying they're not making some strides, but I mean, that's the reality of it. You can only make the games, there's only so much you can do to legislate the violence out of the game. And they're doing, I will say that right now, they seem to be doing everything that they can. And they used to promote violence. Like it used to be something they sell with the game.
Yeah.
I remember used to getting the Sports Illustrated, videos with the subscription that would be,
there's commercials,
the haymakers.
The commercials, you would get a football phone. A football phone and a video of the most NFL's violent collisions and the biggest tackles. And you'd watch, and the whole commercial is just guys, boom, massive brain damage over and over again.
Yes, that's a great way of describing it, because unfortunately you're right. That's all it was. We were just watching brain damage.
It was just watching that, and then they'd be like, and you get a phone, which now also is hilarious. It's like, here's the thing.
It's a collector's item now if you got that damn phone, man.
You get that football phone, and then you get a year of an actual magazine. Everything in that commercial is extinct.
That's so true.
Magazines,
so true.
landline phones.
I still have some of those
head-to-head collisions.
Yep. And they used to say NFL was big on selling violence and sex, and now they've basically decided they're just going to sell points and offense.
Oh, and also free VHS tapes too, also extinct. That commercial is just full of things that don't exist anymore.
Oh man, yeah. We used to view the game so differently. I mean, we took pride in that. You wanted your kids to go out there and hit somebody like that, and then or be hit like that and get right back up and show toughness. And now we're like, oh, brain damage. Okay, well, we don't want that. We don't want that at all. So we've all gotten a little bit smarter and enlightened about the game that we.
I said earlier. Well, you got your bell rung. Walk it off. Yeah, it makes sense.
I remember that. Walk it off. That was a thing.
Walk it
Walk
off.
it off.
Run
And
some dirt
you know
on
what?
it.
You get your bell rung. You come back to the sideline, Patrick, and everybody hits you on the head.
Yep.
Like you, hey, good job. He's like, I just hit somebody. Y'all hit me on the head. Yeah. Like this is what we used to do. We were just savages. We were just savages.
Just sitting on the bench with a blank stare, and everyone's like, "Good job, hit you on the head."
Hit you on the head. Keep it moving. It's so crazy. It is just so wild. All right, I'm glad we're enlightened. I'm glad we're better, and I'm praying for Tua, man. Hoping he's better. And honestly, if Tua's gonna risk more and more head trauma, I'm sure you got a nice signing bonus. It ain't no shame in it to hang it up.
No,
it really is not.
I get
these days it's not.
I get. Hopefully they have an out in there where he still gets to keep a lot of that money, or not all lot of it, but some of that money, and has enough for his family that he doesn't feel any. Like, as I get, that kid is super tough and he wants to play. You got to remember that kid also had an injury. Tua had the injury coming out of college that they compared to being in a car crash.
Yeah,
his like hip injury, and he fought through that to come back. Like, he's fought through a lot to keep playing the game. So I just, you wanted to be able to go, man, here, take some of that money. I wish you could have played like 2 years before this happened. I don't want that to happen at all. But if you could have got a little bit more money, that you would be able to walk away a little bit easier. Go, man, I got $150 million in the bank. I don't need to end my life early for this.
Pretty much, like, or when you turn basically in your golden years are ruined, because you have neurological damage. I'm with you. I just don't think it. He has to make that decision. That's on him.
Yes.
We've all who played the game at a high level had to make the decision about our own well-being and health and our love for the game. I just hope he, chooses quality of life over the game. You've accomplished a lot. We all got to say bye to the game at one point. I'm not saying he's got to do it right now, but
and look, you don't even have to say goodbye.
It's a conversation he needs to have.
You have to shift what you do in the game, and you can go and be a part of the game somewhere else, whether it's coaching or announcing or whatever it is that you want to be a part of, or even if you want to go into trying to make the game a safer thing, you can do all those pieces. You can still be a part of the game, but you're never going to get to that promised land that you wanted to get to.
You no longer have an intimate relationship with the game. Trust me, somebody who once had
I get that.
You now, from afar, you get to admire the game, and you're just like the Gen Pop. They can get into coaching. They can get into, they can get into, being if you want a broadcaster in media. Yes, you get to follow the game, and it's great. But the truth is, you'll never have that intimate love affair with the game like you once did. And the truth is, she don't love you. She don't love anybody. She loves Tom Brady, maybe. But the rest of us, she does us dirty like she does everybody. The game gets done with you. You don't get done with the game. So everybody pretty much has to end their career on that same side of it, where you didn't make that decision. That decision was made for you. Very few get to leave on their own, of their own accord. So, all right, wishing the best for Tua. We come back wishing the best for Texas as well. Texas football playing UTSA this weekend. We'll come back and discuss it and hear from Steve Sarkisian as well. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn, Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about Dr. Eckert and his fantastic team. I just told you about Dr. Eckert and the technological advances and the brain vault science that he has introduced that helps with concussions. But his everyday job is the best dentist in Austin, and that's what he does. And that's why I know Dr. U, and I'm happy to tell anybody who needs a dentist that, hey, I know a dentist. I know the best dentist in Austin, Dr. Eckert, and I owe him a huge debt of gratitude. Initially, I went there just for a routine cleaning and a checkup. And during that checkup, a very thorough one, they found that my wisdom teeth were all growing in sideways. I was on the verge of a disastrous situation, folks. And I was concerned about it. I was stressing about it. There was no need for me to stress because I was in great hands. Dr. Yu and his team, they went to work. They worked quickly, made sure I was informed and educated on the process and the procedure, got everything scheduled and got everything done. I was back at work within a couple of days. As you guys know, and my dental health and dental hygiene have never been better. Thanks to Dr. Ecker and his team. Now, hopefully for you, it's not as serious as having all your wisdom teeth removed and extracted. But if it is, you're in great hands. But no matter if it's just a routine cleaning or checkup or general dentistry, teeth whitening, dentures, porcelain crowns, veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Greg Eckert and his team are all about. And right now, I told you he's always on the cutting edge of technological advances in general dentistry, but also things like Brain Vault. But right now, because of his intellectual curiosity, he has the ability to give you a brand new smile in just one day, folks. Permanently secured to your dental implants. No time spent without teeth. You'll get temporary fixtures until they can complete your permanent smile. You'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. So this is a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, just call Dr. Yu today to learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. A brand new smile in just one day. Sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's just Dr. Yu. It's a complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose but so much to gain, because a confident smile can change your life, and Dr. Yu wants to change your life for the better. So give him a call, 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166, or visit drecord.com. And right now, for all Horn listeners, you tell them that you heard it on the Horn, and you'll get a free Zoom whitening with whatever treatment you're getting with Dr. Yu. He's hooking you up. drecord.com, DRUECKERT.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some Texas football conversation. We're talking about their matchup coming up versus the UTSA Roadrunners and the Longhorns. And we'll hear actually from Jeff Traylor, too. We got some Jeff Traylor sound. He was on his coach's show talking about this Texas UTSA matchup. But first, let's hear from Sark talking about Quinn. In this game, this is how you know Texas is having first world concerns, as Sark would put it, crying on a yacht. A lot of the Longhorn fans are talking about Quinn's Heisman hopes. He's right now got the best odds to win the Heisman. And he had a huge showcase game against Michigan, but now playing UTSA. Nobody's really watching. Nobody's watching this Texas UTSA game, but everybody's going to check the box score statistically to see, where's one of the Heisman front runners? Where is he statistically? Did he have a big game versus UTSA? Whatever. They're not going to watch the game. They're just going to look at the box score. It's one of those games nationally. And if you don't have some of the, some eye-popping numbers or some impressive numbers, then believe you'll lose some ground in the Heisman race. And he's got 2 back-to-back games like that. He's got UTSA and he'll have ULM. ULM is probably worse than UTSA. And usually, once you get to 20 points up or 3 touchdowns up, you're taking out guys like Quinn Ewers and taking out your starters. So a lot of people believe this might hurt Quinn in the Heisman race until he gets like some of those other big games, Oklahoma, then Georgia, of course. So here is Sark when asked about how Quinn is handling the Heisman hype. Is he starting to buy into the Heisman hype a little bit? Is he worried about it or concerned about it? Because Longhorn fans certainly have been talking a lot about it. Here's what Sark has to say about Quinn's handling of the Heisman hype.
I don't even know if he's at the top of the Heisman odds. That's why it's going to be good for him. That's why I think he'll handle it really well. He just doesn't consume himself of what other people think. He's more focused on what he needs to do to perform. He's more focused on how he can support his teammates and be the best quarterback, leader, teammate that he can be. So he's not one of those guys that is on social media all day long. He doesn't carry his phone around everywhere that he goes. He's focused on what does he need to do to put himself in the best position to be successful. And that goes all the way to his nutrition, his diet, his sleep patterns, who he associates himself with, his preparation, his work ethic, his understanding of the game plan and the checks and why we're doing what we're doing. So I think that consumes his time more so than what odds or polls or whatever people might think. I mean, we're in week 2. We got a long way to go.
All right, there you go. Start talking about Quinn. So Quinn's not buying into the hype. I think a lot of us are excited about him getting some Heisman love. But let's jump to the other side of the ball. Sark was also asked about someone else who had a really big day. Actually, Andrew Makuba was voted by the Thorpe Award Foundation to be the Thorpe Award week DB of the week. Actually, after the game he had versus Michigan. So here's Sark talking about Andrew Makuba's game versus Michigan, also what he's meant, the overall impact that he's had on the defense and the team.
Yeah, no, I think Andrew is one, the experience that he had. It was we wanted to try to find an experienced safety. It just happened to be that an experienced safety from Austin, from LBJ High School, from a really good program at Clemson, got in the portal. And then, we had some natural connections to him on our team. Jade Barron and he are good friends going back to high school. He knew a couple of our guys of being back in town during the off season and whatnot, of being around our players. And so I think it was somewhat of a natural fit for him. It was obviously a very good fit for us to get such an experienced player with position flex. He played not only safety at Clemson, but he also played star. And so that position flex was important for us as well. But the thing I've learned about Andrew is he is a heck of a practice player. And he practices hard, he practices physical, but he practices smart. He stays off the ground. And his practice habits and his preparation habits carry over to the game. And I think that's why he puts himself in really good positions in game. And it's allowed him to make some of the plays that he's made so far.
Yep, football is a sport where you practice more than you play. Got to learn how to practice at a really high speed, efficiently. Seems like Sark appreciates that. Position flex is basically another way of saying versatility. See, he keeps throwing it out there. It's his buzzword of the offseason and the season so far. He also was really complimentary. Speaking of, because I know we're getting close to the break here, so we'll play more of this sound. We go behind the burners curtain again, and if we don't get to it, we'll play it. I promise you, in the second and third hours of the show. But Makuba had his best game, arguably, at Texas in that Michigan game he just got here. But some people even said, going back to his days at Clemson, that might have been the best they've seen Andrew Makuba play. Like I said, he won Thorpe Award, DB, the Thorpe Award for the DB of the week in college football. Think about how many guys in that Michigan game had their best game of their careers. I would argue Quinn did. I would argue Gunnar Helm did. I heard Sark say Vernon Broughton had his best game that he's ever seen him play in that game. Jake Majors was the Outland Trophy lineman of the week. So Jake Majors arguably had his best game that we've seen him play. So many guys that you basically can throw out. It was like, oh no, that's the best I've seen him play at Texas in key positions: quarterback, center, D tackle, DB. I'm probably missing some guys. Yeah. Probably also at their best games too. It's amazing. That you got to give Sark and the team credit for rising to the occasion, and so many guys rise to the occasion. But that is interesting to see have that many guys who had, like I said, their breakout or career performance in that game versus Michigan, and they may have another one, but it's just like I said, that is it. Now looking at Makuba and now thinking about Quinn and Gunnar Helm and Jake Majors and Vernon Broughton. Texas should be proud of that. That's 5 guys that had their best games ever of their careers in that Michigan game. It's fascinating. All right, we'll get back to some of the sound because we got some sound we're going to play from Start talking about the secondary, that pass rush. Remember, I told you, you shouldn't be stressing out about the Texas pass rush yet, even though they got 1 sack in 2 games. They had over a 30% pressure rate versus Michigan. They can rush the passer, but the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size. But if they don't get at least 3 sacks versus UTSA, then, as I pointed out, I'll admit we might overhype the edge rushers. They should get at least 3, somewhere around there. Hell, they probably should be closer to 5 because Kennesaw State got 5 sacks against this UTSA squad. They've allowed, based on their website, 7 so far this year. 35 pressures they've allowed in 2 games. If you are an edge rusher for Texas, you're a D lineman or a pass rusher, period, you should be licking your chops for this matchup. All right, we'll talk more about Texas versus UTSA here from Steve Sarkisian later on the show. We come back, we got your topic for the big fat poll of the day, and we also will have the musically themed day of the week revealed. That's a 512 Friday right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Mohorn and Rod Babers coming back on the horn.
Back at Rodcast on a Friday morning, and that makes it a 512 Friday where we play local music. You can go check out Around Town this weekend. This right here is a guitar slinging legend, Alan Haynes, one of the best guitar players you'll ever go see. He's playing Saturday at the Little Longhorn Saloon. You can go check out Alan Haynes. Always a good time to go see Alan Haynes. So go check him out on Saturday. Let's get to the big fat poll of the day. Big fat poll of the day today. You can text us in 512-447-3776, or you can find it on X at the Horn ATX.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the Horn.
I'll give you a couple today, but we'll go with the big one that we'll put up on X is how many points will Texas win by against UTSA? I will give you a few options, 1 to 20. So we'll start off there. We'll just say a clean win, 1 to 20. It's a pretty big range. We'll say 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and 40 plus.
Ooh, 40 plus a lot.
The line is 35 last I looked.
No, that's probably where it should be. They beat Colorado State, 52 to nothing.
Yeah. So 40 plus is not out of the realm of possibility.
It's not at all. No, it's not. It's not at all.
I didn't want to go 50 plus. I felt that maybe a little too cocky going into it. I think they can. I know they've done it. They can do it. I'm just trying not to be too cocky in it. I don't want to be too over the top with these polls.
UTSA is not very.
They're not very good this year.
They're not very good this year. Yeah.
But we'll say how many points will Texas win by UTSA? Also, of course, on a Friday, throw in your final score predictions. If you want to throw in there 0 to 195, go ahead and throw that in there. You can put that suggestion in there on the text line. And then I'll give you one more if you want to throw in as well. Since it is Friday the 13th, if you want to throw in your if you want to text in your superstitions, your game day superstitions, your sports superstitions that you want to throw in. I will stand by. It wasn't really superstitious, but I told the story yesterday that before the Michigan game, I was going to go over to a friend's house and I realized I was wearing blue underwear and was like, that's not acceptable playing Michigan. Their slogan is "Go Blue."
Oh,
so you couldn't wear anything blue. It feels like you're rooting for the traitors then. Rooting for the wrong team. I don't want to be rooting for the wrong team. So I changed my underwear. So they said that, but what do you guys, and by the way, other people texted that they did similar things, that they realized they were wearing blue on Michigan. And they were like, no, I can't be wearing blue.
I usually on game days I wear some burnt orange. I don't even have to worry about that. I wear some not burnt orange or something Longhorn related. So I'm always in the color scheme.
Yes.
On game day, I don't have to worry about that. I don't wear random stuff on game days. I'm usually, I'm
no. So like, we had one texter that said they were in Michigan. They had a jacket on. They were not expecting. They had a blue jacket on, and they were not expecting. And then they went, "Oh, I'm wearing a blue jacket. I got to take this off." So they're wearing Longhorn gear underneath, but the jacket is what threw them off.
Okay.
So the underwear, that makes sense. Something I don't have burnt orange underwear, so I didn't.
But then, my thing was that stuff people can see. I know,
Rod,
blue.
I know in my heart.
That's true. Yeah, that's just a good point. That I agree with you. You know it. You're right. You didn't want to start spreading bad mojo.
No.
So I'm with you.
Yeah. No, so but I just want to know. So text in 512-447-3776 your superstitions, your game day superstitions, or when you played superstitions, when you watch the game, what do you have to have? Text those in. And then our big fat poll today, how many points will Texas win by against UTSA? I think 40 plus is going to win. I feel Texas fans are pretty confident right now.
Yeah, it should. Yeah. I mean, because like I said, they're worse than Colorado State. And Colorado State got whipped. To me, they have better. Like at least Colorado State had one player that could play at Texas. Maybe two.
Yeah.
That was the receiver, Torrey Horton, and then the other receiver, maybe Armani Winfield, because remember, Sark had offered him previously, and then he decommitted from Texas. So maybe two. UTSA's got not one player. Not one. They did. His name was Trey Moore, and they took him. So they did. They used to. They had one last year. It was like, nah, we like him too much, so he took him. But other than that, I watched the film. They don't have that. Not one, guys.
No, that was not a good sign for UTSA. Was where we were doing. I was cutting up the audio of the Sark media availability yesterday, and all the questions his answers are about 1.5 to 2 minute answers, and then he's asked, "What are UTSA's strengths?" and it's like a 30-second answer. I was like, if that's not the most telling thing of all of this, is he's one of the strength, and he's like, well,
I mean,
I gotta go, guys. That's my time. I gotta go.
They play hard. They play hard. They don't quit. They don't quit. They gonna give you 4 quarters of football. That's for sure. I mean, you just kind of throw out random.
You didn't want to go?
coachisms,
They're about 90 minutes away from a real football team.
Oh man, yeah. No, it's like I said, it's tough times right there at UTSA. As a matter of fact, we'll hear from Jeff Traylor on the other side. We'll play that sound from Jeff Traylor because I think it does sum up really this matchup in a nutshell. It
is. Now, and again, we get, if you're a Longhorn and listen to this, we're lying. They're really good. Go beat them by a lot. But anyone else?
If you're a player, if you're a player,
listen, they're really good.
Focus on it.
Focus on it.
But yeah, for us, trust me, I do the analysis, guys. This team, UTSA, is not close to that team that came in here and made it at least a game for 2.5 quarters against Texas a couple years ago. And Jeff Traylor knows that, so we'll play that audio from you. Okay, so multiple questions coming up for topic for Big Fat Poll there, but which one's going to be posted?
Which one will be how many points will Texas win by? Yes.
All right. I'm going to go with right now because I got my scores like 56 to I'm thinking like 56 to 6 or 9.
Do you want me to bump it up on the X? Do you want me to bump it up to 50 plus? To try and make it more interesting?
No,
I haven't put it in yet. We can bump it up to 50 plus, and then we'll scoot all the numbers a little bit.
I think I'm going 40 plus. I'm going like 56.
I'm going to make it 50 plus. This will make it more complicated for everybody.
Yeah, because I think Texas probably going to get close to scoring 50 in this game.
Yeah.
I mean,
what was South Alabama? What was the South Alabama score last night?
Oh, 80 something.
I know they put up 87 or something. I got to look it up now.
That's Major Applewhite. Why did Major do that to
Northwestern State?
By the way, that wasn't cool, man. Because don't put say that. That's my dad. My dad's old school.
Hey, don't say that out loud today.
Louisiana.
Don't say that today.
No, I won't. I'm at the text pops and see if he kept up with that.
They won. They won by 77. They won 87-10.
Wow.
Yeah, that's Major's first win as a head coach over there at South Alabama.
And South Alabama's not that good, are they? They won.
I mean, they're good enough to put up 87 on somebody.
Yeah, they're 1-2.
They're 1-2.
That was their first win. They're 1-2. It's not like they've been world beaters. I mean, Major's my dog. I love him, but they're like they've been world beaters.
They've already lost to North Texas and Ohio.
Yeah, they're not. I don't know how that. I gotta go look at that box score. It must be a lot of turnovers in the game. It had to be turnovers and non-offensive touchdowns. There's no way that was all offensive. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not giving enough props to Major in that offense. I gotta go back and look at the box score of that game. That is crazy. 87. If you get to 87, might as well try to get to 100. When I get to that point, why you not just try to go overboard and get to 100? Yeah, I don't know how, because they don't really have anybody that stood out.
4 turnovers
on the box score. That must be what it is. That's it. Had to be turnovers and had to be non-offensive touchdowns. Got to be, because South Alabama, they didn't even have a 100-yard receiver.
I mean, they ran the ball. They had
200-yard rushers. They had 200-yard rushers.
Yeah, they ran the ball for 365 yards. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good. But usually that scoring is down.
It is.
Because we're running the football and the clock is running. Dude, they had a 6-minute fourth quarter.
So they have 3.
They agreed to a 6-minute fourth quarter mercy rule.
They had.
So they didn't even play a full fourth quarter.
They had 3 running backs with over 40 yards on their longest carry. So they had a 57-yard carry. It was the longest for one. So 59 and 45. Yeah. So they basically just broke through the line and just were gone.
So they were just getting, they get the running. Their 3 top running backs averaged 20 yards per carry, 12.8 yards per carry, and 12 yards per carry. And they had 7, 8, and 6 rushes each. And those 3 guys averaged over 12 yards per carry. All right. Well, I guess if your rush defense is that bad, you don't even care about throwing the football. That is crazy. I cannot believe. So good for Major. And then they got a lot of interceptions. They got 3 interceptions too.
3 interceptions and a fumble recovery.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. That's how it rolls downhill on you. Crazy. Yeah. All right. I had to tell Pops, man, your alma mater got whipped. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into some Texas football conversation. Hear from Jeff Traylor. We'll start to preview continue, I should say, to preview Texans versus Bears, Cowboys versus Saints. All of that and more on the other side right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Mahorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast, 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. That's when Patrick plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who are we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Carolyn Wonderland, and she is playing tonight at the 04 Center.
Like that. I like this jam. It's good,
yeah,
good.
Really, she's very, very talented. Been around for a long time here in town, and always a good show to go check out.
I like that. That's good energy. All right. Appreciate my man Patrick on a 512 Friday hooking us up. We also appreciate Patrick for the topic for the big fat poll today. Always a great conversation starter. Patrick, what is the topic for the big fat poll of the day?
How many points will Texas win by against UTSA? I posted it wrong. Let me go back and fix my post.
No, okay. Yeah. No, I do it all the time. Don't can't you edit? You can.
I don't think you can edit on a poll. Let me see. I gotta go fix real quick.
All right. All right. No worries. But we'll get that posted. Also, hit us up and let us know. Also, in addition to, of course, we'll get that poll posted for you on X at the Horn ATX. Pat, you threw out a couple other questions for the text line though as well. 512-447-3776. For those who want to know, what were your questions you threw out for the text line?
Give us your final score prediction. Your final score prediction for against UTSA. And then also give us a what's your superstition? Since it is Friday the 13th, what is your superstition that you have either on game day, when you're played, when you watch the games now? We've already got a few on. I do like someone says, can we normalize wearing burnt orange on game day? So many people show up out of uniform. I do understand. I'll say this as a fat guy. I'll say this as a fat guy. I don't own a lot of burnt orange that fits me and looks good. Because it's really, really expensive to buy big guy clothes in burnt orange. Because if you have to get the officially licensed stuff and it's just
I got some stuff.
It's $100 plus for every shirt.
I got some stuff for you still in the package that's like really good stuff actually for you. I don't know exactly what size you wear, but I bet it fits you because it's way too big for me.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, because that's the thing. There's a lot. So I know there's some people that it's just expensive to buy a lot. No, it is expensive. So I always wear. I've always got a hat. The hat always fits. So I always wear a hat. Mm-hmm. So I'm always there repping something. I normally have a T-shirt on, maybe under another shirt or with another shirt on. I'll have a T-shirt on the burnt orange. So I'll have a few things that I wear burnt orange. But I understand some people, maybe especially if you got the kids and everything else, you don't have a wardrobe full of burnt orange because the cost could be a little high.
And I don't even really, I don't wear a ton of burnt orange. I wear Longhorn stuff, but I try to find a lot of Longhorn stuff that's, either black or gray or other stuff. So it's not always burnt orange. So my closet's not just 1/3 of it or 1/4 of it. It's just all burnt orange. I love the Longhorns, but I'll admit I didn't love burnt orange before I became a Longhorn. So it's definitely not like one of my favorite colors naturally. It's something I'm wearing just on the game day. So I got a lot of, probably half of my Longhorn stuff is not burnt orange. It's some other color, but still representing. But yeah, I don't know. It's most people I see, they're representing, but Patrick's right about the officially licensed stuff. The really, really cool stuff, Texas knows, is expensive. Yeah. I mean, that's just, I will admit that too. I've been, that's why I always go to places like Academy. Has really cool stuff sometimes if you catch them at the right time. Wife is really good about just going to random places to look for Longhorn stuff. I mean, I'm always looking in the off season for Longhorn stuff. You definitely won't find any cost. You definitely won't find any discounted stuff during the season for Longhorn fans. Got to get that stuff in the off season. All right, there you go. So we'll get the topic for the big fat poll today posted for you. We'll also get to some of your answers to the questions that my man Patrick posted for you, or at least posed to you for the text line. What's your favorite, but what's your go-to superstition to try to spread some good mojo for your team, and give us your score prediction of that Texas UTSA game. And right now, I'm feeling like Texas can score 50. The reason I feel like they can score 50 is because the backups for Texas, Archie Manning is going to be out there, and I don't think they're going to be lighting it up when he's out there and throwing it deep when he's out there, but he'll be throwing to Ryan Wingo probably. The guy's averaging like 25 yards per touch.
No, Silas Bolden will be out there too.
Silas Bolden will be out there. I mean, Jonte Cook might be out there. I mean, your backups that you're going to have out there are essentially projected starters for a lot of power forward teams. And I just think that they don't need to be running up the score. Like I said, you can just give Ryan Wingo a screen or a slant. Dude, that might end up taking it to the house. You just got those kinds of weapons. And Jerry Gibson, hell, he might be in there as your running back. Did he lead you in rushing the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
He can run, and your backup offensive line is still, gargantuan compared to, what you're going to be facing on the side against UTSA. You can still run the ball downhill on them and get nice chunks of and nice gains just on the ground game, trying to milk the clock and run it out. I still think Texas is going to score 2-3 touchdowns with the backups in. So I don't know what the starters are going to score. I'm assuming they're going to score 28 to 30 points before Sark decides to pull them. And I think you're going to get 2-3 touchdowns from the backups too. And that puts you into
and I'm curious. I think what could be bad for ULM and UTSA is even with the backups, I think Sark may try and make a point in these next couple of weeks of, hey, I didn't like that you let Michigan score at the end. I didn't like that you didn't finish that game.
He said that.
He said it a couple of times. He may come out and go, I want you to finish. Yeah. Like, I get it's not friendly and it's not nice, but we're trying to win a championship. And when you guys start to let off, that's how we lose games to an Oklahoma, is we get a lead against them and then we let off, and then all of a sudden we can't restart the engine. And, I need you guys to be killers out there, even the second string. So it may be bad news if he sends out killers on that defensive end and they don't really have a run game at UTSA. They can't run clock that well, and they're still throwing, and you're still have guys trying to make big plays. That's where that score can get run up pretty easily. I'm with you.
No, I agree with that actually. So I think, and then we don't even talk about special teams, and special teams hadn't made that big play yet. Jeff Banks he's due for a big play in special teams, right? Have we had a big play on special teams? We had a return, a nice return. But I don't know if we've had that return for a touchdown, block punt, something like that, a trick play or something on special teams. I feel like in the next 2 weeks we're going to get that too.
Yeah.
I feel like in the next 2 weeks, Jeff Banks' group is going to make a big play. And then, the backup tight ends are going to be pretty good. We'll probably get to see Amari Niblack a little bit, man, after Gunnar Helm does his damage. I just think with the backups that Texas is going to put in there, they're still going to be able to do a lot of damage. I feel like they're going to score in the 50s. And how much will UTSA score is the question. And how will they be able to move the football? And if you're Texas, what do you take away from UTSA? Well, you take away their passing game. I mean, that's where they're considered kind of a top 35 unit is their passing game. They're not a good running team. I mean, they just don't run the football really well at all. They're like a bottom 15 running team in college football right now. So going up against Texas, that's not going to improve going up against the best opponent, the most formidable opponent that they'll face all year. So if they want to do it, it'll be throwing the football. And then, hell, if you're Texas, that's exactly what you want. You want them throwing the football so that your edge rush can get home and make some plays. And you also want them throwing the football so it's your DBs who have already, gotten their hands on 5 takeaways so far this year, so they can continue to be opportunistic. So either way, no matter how I see the game playing out, I see Texas scoring a lot of points, a ton of points in this game. And so I'll say they score 50-something. To your point, to your question, the top for Big Fat Poll today, I'll go they beat them by 40-something. I think they beat them by 40. I don't think they score a touchdown, UTSA. I could be wrong. I don't think they score a touchdown. I think we go through the first 3 weeks of the season with Texas allowing 1 touchdown. And then I got to go back and look at what was the last stretch of games Texas had where they only allowed 1 touchdown in 3-game stretch.
Yeah. I mean, right now, you get they're a little cautious. Right now, the voters are a little cautious on the poll. Getting
40?
25 to 40 is currently leading right now.
Yeah.
25. So we went 1 to 25, 25 to 40, 40. That's why I said I had to change it because I felt like 40 plus was going to win pretty heavily. So I pushed up to 50 to maybe spread it out a little bit. I agree with you.
That's the way to go. Because 50, I don't know if I want to go. They're going to beat it by 50, but they did beat a team by 50.
It sounds cocky. You don't want to, as a fan. This is where I'm superstitious. I don't want to be too cocky and pushing too much. I have no impact on the game whatsoever, but still I'm like, but if I talk too big, then I will somehow jinx the game and they'll cut.
Football gods won't like it somehow.
Yeah. So
your team will get punished.
Yeah. So even in that, I'm being superstitious. Like, you know what? Modest win, guys. Modest win.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I don't want to go 50, but I said they literally just beat a better team, in my opinion, in Colorado State by 50. So We shall see how it all goes down. All right, it's a good. This is a good conversation. That's how you know you and your team's really good. When this is what the conversation is. Are they gonna beat them by 40 or 50? I don't know. I think they're gonna beat them by 40.
That's where you want to be.
I don't want to get too arrogant. It's been a long time since Longwood fans been having that kind of conversation. All right, let's get to the Horn headlines here, and then we'll come back and start previewing week 2 for the Cowboys and for the Texans. But first, let's get updated, let's get educated, let's get informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros salvaged a game in their series with the A's with a 6-3 win. Romer Valdez pitched 6 in a third inning, striking out 6 and only giving up 1 run, and a 4-run eighth inning pulled the Astros to victory. The Astros now head to California to take on the Angels, with Yusei Kikuchi getting the start tonight. The Rangers got a 5-4 win over the Mariners, with Kumar Rocker making his MLB debut. Rocker had a solid start, pitching 4 innings, striking out 7, allowing 3 hits and only 1 run. Jacob deGrom is now scheduled to make his season debut tonight for the Rangers, followed by the return of Max Scherzer tomorrow. In college football, Arizona State was able to edge out Texas State with a fourth quarter field goal to win 31-28. This weekend, a couple of traditional rivalry games we played, including Oregon and Oregon State, and Washington State, as well as some top 25 matchups like number 20 Arizona and number 14 Kansas tonight, and number 24 Boston College and number 6 Missouri on Saturday. And in the NFL, the Bills' James Cook helped lead the Bills to a 31-10 win over the Dolphins, scoring 3 touchdowns in the game. Tua Tagovailoa suffered a concussion in the third quarter and was down on the field for several minutes before being helped off. This is the third reported concussion of Tua's NFL career, and there is no timetable for his return. This weekend, the Saints will travel to Dallas to face the Cowboys, and the Bears and Texans will meet up on Sunday Night Football. That's your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Let's talk about some NFL stuff here. Let's talk about the Texans and the Cowboys in their Week 2 matchup. First, let's start with the Texans. They're going to be facing the Bears in their Week 2 matchup. Something that they showed, though, the Texans did show that I think is really promising, and it's one thing that Patrick said he was looking forward to the most in terms of the reveal of the reinvention of the Texans and that new look offense was the running game. And they arguably had one of the best, if not the best, running game in the NFL in Week 1. That's a big turnaround from the Texans, who, last 3 or 4 years have had one of the worst running back units and running games in all of the NFL. They had a 53% rushing success rate in that game in Week 1 against the Colts. That was the 4th highest of the week. And last year, the Texans, last year they were trying too hard. I think Bobby Slowick was, to strictly interpret the Shanahan gospel, if you will, of offense, and he was trying to be almost too much like the Kyle Shanahan offense. The other mixed Shanahan coaches, they take the basic principles of the Shanahan offense, the conceptual signatures, the foundation of it, and then they put their own spin on it. They make their own cover version of the Shanahan offense. And I don't know if Slowick I don't know if he did that successfully last season. And I think he's starting to do that more, because instead of using 21 personnel, a lot of it, which they used last year, and I think it was they were in like 23% of the time, they were in 21 personnel, 2 back, 1 tight ends. And that was their fullback was Andrew Beck. Remember the lifetime Longhorn Andrew Beck? Well, they moved on from Andrew Beck, and now they're running out of 12, or at least in game 1. They're running out of 12 personnel a lot. They ran out of 12 personnel. They used 12 personnel last year, less than 10% of the time. But in week 1, they used it 38% of the time. And they would just shift Dalton Schultz in the backfield, which they did around 9% of the time. They just shift him in the backfield and give a 21 personnel look, but it would be out of 12 personnel. And they ran the football really well. They ran it 11 times out of 12 personnel for 82 yards with 63% success rate. So if you might see that a little bit more against the Bears. It could have been matchup specific, but I think that's how the Texans are going to try to boost their running game. Of course, along with Joe Mixon, I don't know if they're going to give him 30 carries again, but that is, I think, the new innovation give them a schematic advantage in the run game with those tight ends. This is the big issue, I think, for the Texans going up against Caleb Williams and that offense, because really Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and Romo Doomsday, who's dealing with an injury of sorts. Romo Doomsday is dealing with an injury right now. So that is, I think, going to be something that the Texans have to consider. If he's healthy, and that gives you three guys that could offer you matchup mismatches or matchup disadvantages. But the Texans secondary will be tested in this game, at least their ability to hold up in the scramble drill and hold up when a dual threat quarterback is extending the play, which is kind of what happened to them in that game versus the Colts. Anthony Richardson is awesome at extending plays. He's a freak athlete, and he's got a freakish arm, and he can throw on the move, throw on the run. If the scramble drill takes place, I mean, he's probably one of the best at the scramble drill because of his athleticism. And Caleb Williams offers some of the same, or presents some of the same problems. He wasn't great in week one. Matter of fact, he was awful in week one. He was terrible. If you go look at his overall stat line in week one, I mean, I don't know if you want 14 of 29, less than 50% completion percentage, didn't even have 100 yards passing, 3.2 yards per attempt, had a pass rating of 55. And when he held on to the ball for more than 3 seconds, which is usually kind of part of his X-Man ability to extend plays, he was looking downfield, but that was nothing downfield. He was 1 of 6, had 11 passing yards, and 15 yards was his average depth of target in that game. So he was looking downfield and, throwing it downfield, but not very accurately and not to a lot of wide open wide receivers. So so he didn't do it really well in game one, but that is something that he does well, and something the Texans are a little bit vulnerable to, is the extended play and the scramble drill. And, Anthony Richardson lit him up for three reception, 3 completions of 50 plus yards in that game, which, like I said, I don't know how often that happens in any game. We gave the stat early this week. No quarterback had more than 1 completion of 50 or more yards all season last year. And this dude had 3 of them in one game against the Texans. And then we learned later from D'Amico Ryans that they scouted those looks. They knew that those plays that they gave up, those big 50-yard bumps, they knew that they were coming. Or at least they knew the scheme and they knew the play design that they were going to use. And the Texans still gave up those big bombs. And they didn't give them up to the corners. The corners actually played well, Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley. This was more the safeties and the nickels that they attacked. And I think Chicago may try to do the same thing. So that's something to watch on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. But I think the Texans play like they did in week one and control the line of scrimmage and with the run game. And Joe Mixon, his rushing success rate in that game, 56% on plays where Indy stacked the box against him. So Indy stacked the box on 27% of the plays, and it still didn't matter. Joe Mixon still was able to run the ball successfully. The Texans hadn't had a running back like that last year when Devin Singletary was with the Texans against stacked boxes. He had like a 23%. Oh, sorry, he had a 39% success rate in 2023 against a stacked box. So you got a better running back against stacked boxes. Your O-line is better when teams want to stack the box against you and run the football. That's something the Texans should be able to you can control the line of scrimmage, control the game that way. You don't even really have to worry about your defense being exposed to Caleb Williams. But one thing that also Caleb Williams struggled with was simulated pressures and pre-snap disguise. I heard Devin McCourty talking about this. He struggled in both in that in game one versus the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans is kind of a funky. That's a funky defense, the way they constructed it. They're made with a lot of hybrid pieces, constructed with a lot of hybrid pieces, and they were able to confuse Caleb Williams the entire game, and he never knew what was coming post-snap because he could never, accurately diagnose it pre-snap. So that's something the Texans should do a lot of, pre-snap disguise and also a lot of simulated pressure against this Chicago offense and a young quarterback. Keenan Allen is the one you got to shut down, though. If you're looking for somebody to shut down on the other side, it's going to be him. According to the official NFL box scores, Keenan Allen appeared basically to be their number one guy. He had a team high 11 targets, 38% target share. That was third highest of the week. And 3 of those targets basically kind of counted them as throwaways, bringing his true target share down to like 27%. But still, he's the guy they want to get the football to. DJ Moore led the team in receiving yards, but he only had 36, so that wasn't really a big thing. He had 8 true targets. So they want to get it to Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. Those are the 2 guys. Rome Odunze, if he plays, he's more their tertiary option in the passing game.
And the good news, too, for Joe Mixon is it looked like last week, Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard both average over 5 yards per carry against this Bears team. So if we know that the Titans were able to run on them, and what Joe Mixon did last week, you would hope that you'd be able to run on them as well and get that 5+ yards per carry. That would be very big for you. Let CJ Stroud get a little bit better looks. And then, it's on defense. Just don't let him back in the game. Just don't let him back in the game with big plays.
That's it. Pretty much. Once you get a lead. Protecting Stroud is something also that's a bit of a concern because last week they gave up 4 sacks. Chicago's got some pass rushers. Darrell Taylor's a good pass rusher on the edge for him. And they also have DeMarcus Walker, who's a good interior pass rusher for him. Texans allowed a pressure rate of 38% on the dropbacks for CJ Stroud in week 1. 4 sacks, 10 quarterback hits. Now, Stroud handled it like a pro. 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. He was amazing on 3rd and 4th downs, in my opinion. Houston was 9 of 16, converting 3rd and 4th downs in week 1. And they scored 2 touchdowns on late downs as well. One of those being a 4th down. And Diggs was kind of his go-to guy. He finished with 6 receptions, but 4 of those 6 came on 3rd and 4th down. So he's the money guy. He's the money down guy and the red zone guy. And 3 of those 4 receptions resulted in first downs or touchdowns. So that's the role that he's starting to come. And Nico Collins is clearly your top receiver. But don't forget the Texans were bottom half of the league in converting on 3rd and 4th down last year. So for them to have that kind of 3rd down efficiency and 4th down efficiency in game 1, that's a huge step for that Texans offense. All right. I think that's pretty much the lay of the land. I will say I'm worried about that Texans secondary, though, and I shouldn't be. But not only they give up those deep bombs, remember, A.D. Mitchell's ASS was the highest in the NFL. We brought that up, and I'm not sure it's because A.D. Mitchell is such an elite receiver and route runner, which he's damn good, or is it because the Texans secondary, I should say, is not very good. I mean, maybe they're just struggling right now a little bit early on in the season. So we shall see.
That second, because Lassiter and Stingley didn't have bad weeks, but the rest of that secondary who played a lot of snaps and Ward back there, and they said Kalen Bullock had a really good grade, PFF grade, he only played I think about 50% of the snaps, but you need Jalen Petrie to have a better game in the pass defense. You need Jimmy Ward to have a better game in the pass defense. You just need to get some of those guys to step up a little bit more in the safeties and not get beat over the top.
Yep. And to your point about Kalen Bullock, D'Amico Ryan said Kalen Bullock, he needs to get on the field more. He played 56% of the snaps versus the Colts, and D'Amico Ryan's like, we got to play him more. So maybe he played well, and some of the other starting safeties didn't play as well, and maybe they're going to start rotating that young buck in there a little bit more. All right, there you go. So that's some Texans breakdown. We'll come back. We'll talk Cowboys on the other side. We got Cowboys. And I did a deeper dive on a topic I brought up that was, I think, related to the passing numbers being down for the NFL in week 1. And I'll tell you what I found on the other side, too. So we'll do Cowboys breakdown versus the Saints, and we'll also get into some a little trend that I noticed about week 1 in the NFL, maybe the reason why the passing numbers are down. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some Cowboys conversation. Going to preview the Cowboys Saints matchup. I told you guys yesterday, I don't know if there has been a more drastic makeover of a team than the New Orleans Saints on offense. We talk about those. We always talk about those extreme makeover shows, and now they do them with houses more than anything. But whether you're talking about the queer eye for the straight guy back in the day or whatever, essentially the Saints offense was just an antiquated, ugly, decrepit, just a shell of an NFL offense. It really was. They were last in the NFL in pre-snap motion rate. They were last in the NFL in play action pass rate last season. They just were, like I said, they were stuck in like the 20th century for offenses. And recently, they hired Clint Kubiak as their offensive coordinator, who's the son of Gary Kubiak. And Clint Kubiak has just totally changed the identity of that offense. Like, they are not the same offense. They've gone through an extreme makeover, as I kind of describe them. And overall, you go look at it, like I said, last year, nobody was less progressive and less modern than the New Orleans Saints. And this year, they've experienced if you go look at the increase just in play action pass rates and the increase in, pre-snap motion rates since Clint Kubiak got there. This is his first game. They have experienced the second highest increase in play action pass rates in that time period. So they've come from being at the bottom of the league in play action pass to now they are fourth in the league in play action. I'll take it back. They're third in play action pass. They're tied for the third with the Dolphins after play action pass after week one. Obviously going into week two, and in pre-snap motion rates, they had a 28% increase in play action pass percentage from 2023 to week one. If you go look at their pre-snap motion rates from being last in the league, they increased their pre-snap motion and shift rate by more than 25%. Actually, Zach, 38% increase is what they had in their pre-snap motion rate from 2023 to week one of 2024. No offense has experienced really the makeover overall that they have. They've been modernized overnight. And because of that, they looked really good in that game. The Saints averaged 4.27 points per drive in week one. It was their most since week 16 of 2020. So the offense has not looked this good since the Sean Payton era ended. Since Sean Payton left, you haven't seen an offense look this good. And a lot of it is because Clint Kubiak has just come in to modernize the offense. And what they have to worry about, well, I think their biggest concern is going to be how do they handle the pressure the Cowboys are going to bring? Because the story for the Cowboys defense in week one was that everybody assumed the pressure would be dialed down and the pressure rates would decrease post Dan Quinn, at least after the first game. That's not the case. According to Pro Football Focus, the Cowboys had 40 team pressures in week one. According to that, this is their post. They said 40 of them. The next closest is Seattle with 29 they have here, according to them. Everybody's got different pressure numbers, but that's a big number. And Micah had 11 of those pressures, and he led the NFL. And according to Next Gen stats, they have DeMarcus Lawrence second in pressures. They had Marshawn Nealon actually as one of the. Marshawn Nealon ended up with, according to these numbers, he had 6, so he also was in the top 10 in pressures. You had 3 guys in the top 10 in pressures, according to Next Gen stats. Guess around that could have been just the Browns O-line, just terrible. But we know Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence are two of the best edge rushers in the NFL. Hell, and they may end up this year being the best edge tandem in the league in this new Mike Zimmer system. And so, how does Derek Carr and how do the Saints handle that kind of pressure? Because that, like I said, if they're on pace to be a better pass rushing pressure unit than they were last year under Dan Quinn, and that is not something people expected. And how about 18 of those? So damn near half of those 40 pressures came in 2.5 seconds or less, which is usually that's considered the mark. If you're getting there in 2.5 seconds, then you're really wreaking havoc. The quarterback's not holding on to the football. You're able to just disrupt the rhythm of the passing game overall. So that is something. And remember, they had 17 hits on the quarterback on Deshaun Watson. Only one team last season had a game with 15 quarterback hits, and that was the Lions in Week 18 against the Vikings. It was the most quarterback hits by a team since Week 2 of 2020. So it's been a long time since a team had that many hits on the quarterback. So, just throwing it out there, this Cowboys pass rush may be better. And remember this, Mike Zimmer, we were not concerned, but we were curious as to how he was going to utilize Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons played 69 defensive snaps in Week 1. Mike Zimmer had him take snaps at essentially 8 different spots. He was on the left end. He was on the left outside linebacker. He was a right side outside linebacker. They had him as the right end. They had him as the inside linebacker. They had him as the middle linebacker, and they had him as the right off-ball linebacker. Essentially, they had him at a lot of different spots. So he's still moving him around. And people thought, oh man, he's just going to be at the edge position all the time. He's not going to be there all the time. They'll move him around a little bit. It only makes sense because offenses have to identify where he is all the time on every play. And I think you want to, why not? Why would you make life easy on him and always have a guy that multiple just sitting at the edge all the time? So what he'll do is most of his damage pass rushing, of course, from that edge. But I do think, they'll move him around a little bit more than people were assuming they would with Mike Zimmer. Thought that was like a Dan Quinn thing. I just think it's a smart football thing to move around. So that's to me, the theme of this game is the Cowboys pressure. If the Saints can handle that pressure, then maybe you're talking about the Saints able to do some damage. And how they deal with Alvin Kamara is always a conundrum. Like how do you decide to defend Alvin Kamara? Because that dude, he's just a matchup nightmare and a problem. And he can be the catalyst for an offense all by himself. He was through 3 quarters in that game, Week 1. He had a 15 of 27 carries, but he led all running backs who had at least 10 carries in yards before contact per attempt, 3.6, which means the offensive line is doing some work. If you're averaging 3.6 yards before contact, that to me, that means the defensive line for the Cowboys will be challenged in that running game if they're able to do that, because that's some serious YBC yards before contact. That's usually giving credit to the O line. All right, so that's some Cowboys discussion. We come back. We'll have what the stats on the other side. We'll continue to break down Texas versus UTSA, and we'll hear from Steve Sarkisian in the next hour as well. But when we come back, what the facts, what the stats, right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to what the show Rodcast here. Time for what the facts, what the stats. Appreciate you guys joining us. All right, I got a couple of factoids here to share with you guys. The first one here actually is about Tua, which we'll get to, and we'll talk about Tua next segment, and the unfortunate concussion that he sustained in the game last night and had to be obviously taken out of the game. And now a lot of people are discussing his future with the Miami Dolphins because he has a history of concussions, had a series of them in 2022, was able to play every game in 2023. But now people are questioning whether he should consider retirement or maybe the Dolphins will consider moving on from Tua. So here's the contract details about basically the injury clause or retirement clauses for Tua. So the deal includes, he just signed this deal. The deal includes 167 million guaranteed for injury, 43 million of which has been paid already in 2024. If he's medically cleared to return to football but opts to retire, he will forego the remaining 124 million guaranteed, unless there's a settlement of some type. They obviously that could be some type of dispute, and then there could be an injury settlement. But if there's not, then he'll decide to, forego the 124 million, just keep the guaranteed money that he's already gotten. And they'll decide, hey, that's all good. You keep the guaranteed money you got. We'll keep the 124 million that you were guaranteed for injury, and then both sides will be happy. If he's medically forced into retirement, which I assume meaning the Dolphins want to move on, but he doesn't, and he still wants to play. And that's, I don't think another team will pick him up. I mean, they could, but I don't know if another team will invest into it if he's not.
Well, and it could be the NFL at a certain point trying to step in too.
It could be. I don't even know how that would work. That would definitely go to court.
But they have concussion protocol, and so they basically say concussion-wise, you are never cleared to play. And you may be clear to play again in 5 years, but you have to wait on it. We're not going to let you get back in the game.
That's why they have independent neurologists. So just get an independent neurologist that would be say, hey, he can play. And then we go to court about which neurologist said, and can you play in our league and all that. Trust me, like I said, it's going to court if that's the case. If he wants to play and they want to force him into retirement, that's going to court. But if he's medically forced into retirement, he has a right to collect the 124 million. So I guess the point would be if they do kind of force his hand and say they want to move on from Tua. And yes, I do think the NFL is involved because it's a bad look for the league. The NFL does not want moms of future football players seeing Tua go down over and over again with concussions in the fencing posture. Is traumatic for him, of course, for his well-being and safety and health, and it's traumatic for the players who are watching it. And it's traumatic for the fans who are watching it, but the NFL is more concerned about the moms that are watching it, because the moms will decide, my son's not going to play that sport. That's a very dangerous sport. The more they see guys go down with those kind of guys, and by the way, it's actually easier and more palatable for mothers to accept it when it's a big hit. When it's not a big hit, when it's just like it was against Tua last night, when it seems like a routine tackle, that really freaks them out. Then they go, well, I saw a hit harder than that in a high school game the other night. And it really freaks him out. And that's what the NFL wants to avoid. So I can see the NFL nudging the Miami Dolphins, hey, we need him to retire. And then there being a domino effect from it. But those are the details. So if they do force him to retire, he does get, at least based on Spot Track's contract details, he'll get the 124 million guaranteed. It's not a bad deal. It's not bad. If that's what it is, if he decides to retire right now, and then the 124 million guaranteed is what essentially is his like his parachute, basically. And if that's his consolation prize, man, that's a great one. And if the Dolphins can just move on from there and have a clean with the clean slate, that honestly, that's not bad if that is the case. And I imagine they would want to avoid any legal disputes and anything, so they probably would be willing to say, hey man, we give you guaranteed money, we just want to move on. I want you to move on and us to move on, because as an organization it's tough to keep putting him out there in harm's way with these concussions mounting up. And one concussion makes you more vulnerable and susceptible to another one. I fear this is not the last one he's going to have. I fear he's going to have another one.
Yeah, I mean that's a fear for everybody. Yeah.
And then the one that he doesn't get to just get up and walk away from.
Yeah.
It was great that he walked to the locker room in his own power. That was awesome. But man, it just feels irresponsible to keep throwing him out there when you know that he's especially vulnerable to head trauma. And everybody's body's a little bit different, but for him, man, going on 3 concussions that we know of now, or 4. This is the fourth one. Fourth one.
This is the third reported.
Third reported.
So there's are recorded or whatever you want to claim it, but there was multiple. We know there's been more, but this is the third one that they will officially, the NFL officially says on the record, third concussion.
Yeah, that they've examined him for and had to pass protocol for.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. We'll come back. We'll talk about that a little bit more and also get into some of the other big college football games from the weekend. We'll dive into more Texas UTSA discussion, hear from Steve Sarkisian on the other side. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a 5-1-2 Friday. Actually, a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, woo! Football 5-1-2 Friday edition of the Rodcast. And that's when my man Patrick plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Tomar and the FCs, and they're playing both Friday and Saturday night down at Seaboys.
All right, there you go. Man Patrick always hooking us up for a 5-1-2 Friday, so we appreciate all of his efforts. All right, let's we appreciate his efforts getting us a conversation starter for the big topic for the big fat poll of the day. And once again, he has not failed because he's got a nice conversation starter happening right now. What's the topic for the big fat poll of the day, Patrick?
Big fat poll today. How many points will Texas win by against UTSA? Right now, we're tied at 25-40 and 40-50 with 39% of the vote each. And then second place is 1-20, or third place, I guess, is 1-25 with 13%.
They're trolling.
And then only 10% of the vote. Only 10% of the
vote.
vote.
That's UTSA road runner trolls out there.
Only 10% of the vote saying 50 plus. We gave you the 50 plus and moved it up from 40 plus to 50 plus, and we're seeing. So there's still some people that believe it, but not as many. Not as many. I thought we may have a little bit more, more confidence, a little bit more Kool-Aid, but I think people are they're being a little stitious. So we had a texter text in about the superstitions, and we're asking you also on the text line if you have any game day superstitions, superstitions. You can throw those on the text line for Friday the 13th. We had a person text in that he is not superstitious. He is just stitious.
Well done.
And his was if he changes
Michael Scott there.
Yes. If he changes the channel during a commercial and forgets to change it back in time and the team starts doing well, doesn't go back. Just leaves it, just doesn't change it back.
Actually, I've done stuff like that before, actually. I have done that before. Yeah, if I like turn off the game or something like that because I'm upset with the game and then they start coming back, I'm like, all right, well, I can't go back and watch it now. Because hey, maybe somehow me turning away, hey, I helped the team out. I don't know. Yeah, I have done that before, actually. I was like, no, what? I'm gonna go back to the last. I'm gonna go back. If they keep coming back like that, now I'll just wait to go back and watch the game afterwards, or I'll watch the last couple of plays or the last minute or something like that. But yeah, no, I guess a little stitious.
You got a little stitious in that one. We got one that says has to start game day with putting the team flag out and drink out of the team mug on game day, and then wear all of the game gear. Go for all of that.
Team mug is good.
Man, CP53 says he can't send in his superstitions because it'll jinx them if he tells them.
There you go. Boom.
So he says he can't do that. But.
Yeah. No, I think everybody's got something. Got a little something. So you know what? As long as the team keeps winning, you know what? No superstition or stition is too strange.
I know I've done before.
Way too strange.
I've done before where I put on music. A lot of times I'll put on music during a game because the announcers will annoy me, especially if it's a road game. Because I don't like all those fans. All those fans really seem to be against what I'm rooting for. So just turn it off and I'll put on music. But again, we've talked about sports. Like I know pretty much what the announcers are going to say. So it's not. I don't really need them as much. So I'm sitting by myself. I'll put on some music. And I have had where a team, like especially in basketball, will go on a run and put on like, 8-10 quick points. And then you're just like, whatever song I'm listening to, I'm like, well, you're on repeat until we're done. We're not going to change that. We just repeat that song over and over again.
Don't jam it. Yeah, that's right. Tailgate's like, what's going on? Why are you playing the same song again? Hey, don't worry about that.
Hey, we're playing well right now. We're playing well.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you got. That's all you need to know. So we playing good. No, that's good. Keep the superstitions coming on the text line 512-447-3776. Go vote on the poll of the topic for the big fat poll of the day. How many points do you think Texas is going to beat UTSA by? I think I broke the tie, so I got them at 40-50. But I was tempted to go with that 50 plus. Guys, I just don't think people realize like how good that second group of wide receivers is going to be out there. And the question will Sark still be throwing the football a lot? I think he'll throw it a little bit. I don't think he'll be chunking it downfield, but I think he wants Arch to get some reps throwing the football. And if he's throwing it to Ryan Wingo, who I just saw this too. I'll make sure I find this. I know that my phone is listening to me because every time I start talking about something, my timeline will get a factoid about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ryan Wingo is among the highest graded power 4 receivers in the country by Pro Football Focus. He is 7th. He's the 7th highest grade overall, like in the country, based on their Pro Football Focus grades. He's only got 5 touches, but he is averaging 25 yards a touch. I will give him that. And he's averaging 25 yards a touch and averaging, what did he have receiving yards? I think he's averaging like 17 yards per target, 17 yards a catch.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that dude going up against UTSA's DBs, and Tariq Woolen ain't over there. I don't know who they got, but they don't match up with that dude or Silas Bolden or Jonte Cook, who will probably still be out there with that second group. Because that's who, right? Jonte Cook was out there with Arch when he came. Yeah, when he came in.
Yeah. I mean, DeAndre Moore may be out there some of those reps too. I mean, he's starting, but he may come back out and play and switch out in some of those reps, try and get him some more catches.
Amari Niblack's gonna be out there.
Yeah,
at the tight end position. So
and we don't even know. We haven't even seen. We still Ryan Niblett maybe used it to wide receiver or a running back in this game because they're trying to get him. We know Sark mentioned in the running back room they're trying to get him up to speed. So maybe he gets some carries and breaks some.
Yeah, I just think they're just deep and low. Matter of fact, after the Horn headlines, we'll hear from Jeff Traylor and let you hear from Jeff Traylor. He sums it up pretty well. I hope his team. Hope he talked to his team before he made these comments about the matchup disparity here between Texas and UTSA, because I thought he was pretty matter of fact, maybe a little too matter of fact about how good Texas is compared to UTSA. But we'll get to that. We'll also talk about the game last night, Thursday night football game, and the big topic of conversation is a sad one. Tua sustained another concussion, so he exited the game in the third quarter, and we'll talk about what that means for Tua's future, as we've talked about earlier today too. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about Buffalo with a big win. Actually, that's a big win for Buffalo. I think the Dolphins were actually favored in that matchup too. Buffalo came off that game where they were down by 4. Actually, both of these teams were down by 14 points, 2 touchdowns in the first week of the season, but came back and then had to go on the road and play a big game and win it. And not only won it, even when Tua went down, that was a butt whipping. When by the time Tua went down, they were already beating them pretty badly. Yeah. And they have a good recipe. They have a nice recipe on how to match up against, at least schematically, that Miami Dolphins offense with Mike McDaniel calling the shots. So we'll get into that too. But first, let's get updated, let's get educated, let's get informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros salvaged a game in their series with the A's with a 6-3 win. Framber Valdez pitched 6 in the third inning, striking out 6 and only giving up 1 run, and a 4-run 8th inning pulled the Astros to victory. The Astros now head to California to take on the Angels, with Yusei Kikuchi getting the start tonight. The Rangers got a 5-4 win over the Mariners, with Kumar Rocker making his MLB debut. Rocker had a solid start, pitching 4 innings, striking out 7, allowing 3 hits and only 1 run. Jacob deGrom is now scheduled to make his season debut tonight for the Rangers, followed by the return of Max Scherzer tomorrow. In college football, Arizona State was able to edge out Texas State with a fourth quarter field goal to win 31-28. This weekend, a couple of traditional rivalry games will be played, including Oregon and Oregon State and Washington State, as well as some top 25 matchups like number 20 Arizona and number 14 Kansas tonight, and number 24 Boston College and number 6 Missouri Saturday. And in the NFL, the Bills' James Cook helped lead the Bills to a 31-10 win over the Dolphins, scoring 3 touchdowns in the game. Tua Tagovailoa suffered a concussion in the third quarter and was down on the field for several minutes before being helped off. This is the third reported concussion of Tua's NFL career, and there is no timetable for his return. This weekend, the Saints will travel to Dallas to face the Cowboys, and the Bears and Texans will meet up on Sunday Night Football. And that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. Yes, the Tua news, probably the big news, of course. Unfortunately, Tua had to leave the game after it was a 4th down in the third quarter. He was rushing for a first down, actually gotten the first down on a 4th and 4, deep in Buffalo territory on the 13. As he got past first down mark, he lowered his head. Ironically, Damar Hamlin was the one who tackled him, and Damar Hamlin has dealt with his own life-threatening situation on the field, but he's back. Actually led the team in solo tackles, so that's a great story. But he was the one who tackled Tua, so it was his forearm actually that struck the helmet of Tua, and then he went down and he had the what they call the fencing pose or fencing gesture or posture, which is indicative of head trauma, and he had to be helped up, and they waited for him, but he did walk off the field under his own power. But the unfortunate thing is that is, at least as Patrick pointed out, the third concussion that's on record for him. In 2022, he had multiple concussions in that season, and in 2023 did not miss a game, and then got signed to the big contract as a result. But now the Dolphins, and more importantly Tua, he needs to think about his future and his quality of life and well-being going forward. And he's already talked about how he contemplated retirement after the 2022 season. So he's already thought about it. And I wonder now, how realistic that conversation is for him to think about leaving the game again, and for the Dolphins too. So the Dolphins need to talk to him. And I said it earlier, the NFL has made a big push to make the game safer. And I think they're doing as much as they can to try to legislate violence out of the game. It is inherently a violent game, and it will always be a violent game. But what the NFL is trying, because the participation rates in football have dropped throughout the years, and the belief is that as we become more enlightened about the dangers of football, that moms and mothers, more and more they are reluctant to allow their sons to play the game, and then they play other sports, then they never. If you don't play football pretty early, then you don't get into it. You're not going to play at the highest levels. So the NFL, one of their pushes, actually, and we talked about this, is to try to introduce the game to young ladies at an earlier age, so that they have a more intimate relationship with football, their own personal relationship with the game, rather than never have played the game at all. So that's why flag football for young girls is big right now, big push for the NFL. So young girls, who will one day be moms, they have a relationship with the game of some sort, even if it's from a flag football level. And they're trying to get flag football in high schools, by the way, and they've already got it in several states approved to be, a part of the high school, sports competitions. And so and they want it, obviously they did it internationally, because it will be in the Olympics. So they got it done internationally, and they want to get it done in high schools and in middle schools and at every level, so that basically young girls can be playing football and then learn to love the game, and then they'll watch the game differently, and hopefully they'll be more open to letting their children, their sons, play the game, even though they know, hey, it's dangerous, but they love it that much. That is the belief. But those wheels are already in motion. But the reason they don't want obviously to have those types of incidents on the field, number one, for his own safety and health and well-being, but the trauma that it causes not only to the players on the field who have to witness it, but the fans who witness it, but more importantly, the moms who witness it. And the moms who witness it and go, nope, my son's definitely not going to play football. Not happening. And that's why the Taylor Swift thing, it's got nothing to do with just overall ratings. The NFL don't need ratings. The NFL don't need ratings, guys. 90% of the most watched television programs in this country are NFL games. They don't need ratings. They need, we want to be 99 of 100. No. What they need is young moms, future moms, all right, which are now teen girls, to be interested and have a relationship with football and to like and love the NFL. And therefore, their belief is they'll want their sons to play, or they'll be more willing to let their sons play football in the future. The NFL don't need more ratings, guys. They're like, hey, Taylor Swift is for the ratings. They want Swifties and rate. No, it ain't for the ratings. What they need they need teenage girls watching the sport. They need teenage girls watching the sport. I know my pause was weird. They need teenage girls watching the sport and falling in love with the sport. And then say they watch it because of Taylor Swift or whatever, and then they go play it in high school or middle school. They're going to end up watching football on Sundays and Saturdays. And then they're going to be like, hey, my son's playing football. He's going to play the same position I did, play wide receiver, whatever it is. So that's the belief. And Tua is throwing a wrench in their plans. Because the more incidents and the more kind of spectacles they have like that, we all rethink the game of football and go, ooh, man, I forgot how violent it is. Let me go look up those CTE stats. Did you realize that 92% of NFL players have CTE when their brains are studied post-mortem? They can only diagnose CTE post-mortem. They can only do it in an autopsy. The science right now is trying to catch up. The NFL is investing some money in the science to try to be able to determine. And actually, crazy part about it, Andrew Luck was working with a company that was actually trying to advance this science too, but they want to try to be able to determine CTE or stages of it, severity of it in living patients. When they do that, then we're gonna have something special. Now, I don't know if the NFL really wants that when you think about it, because if they could give you a stage for every player, like, all right, you're in stage 1, you're in stage 2, and it's like, excuse me, right? Why would you? Most guys would probably leave the sport early, and then you'd get guys in college who decide they're not gonna play the sport.
Yeah, that'll be the one. I'll tell you what the NFL would do.
That might be the death blow.
No, the NFL would be like, all right, cool, let's do it to the combine. How many are you coming in with?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It would be at the college level. You do it at the high school level, but it would severely, I would think, reduce your talent pool, because I think some people just go, well, because they know that one concussion leaves you more susceptible and vulnerable to another one, and it's a compounding thing, and you can stop the trauma pretty much, all right, by stopping playing the game. And if you do that, then you won't have the progression. I don't know if you'll get regression, but you won't have the progression of the disease. Yeah. So like I said, I don't know when that technology is coming. One day it will. I don't know how the NFL will handle it, but that's the problem right now with CTE science and diagnosis. They can't diagnose it until they get obviously bodies donated, brains donated for the science. But the NFL don't want you looking up that stat either. That Boston University found that 92% of NFL players were diagnosed with some form of CTE. And when they studied like semi-pro guys and just guys in college, that it was 87%. They don't want you looking up those numbers. And when you see that, you start looking up, doing research and finding those numbers and going, man, that's a really violent game. And although they are doing everything in their power to try to make it safer, that's bad for optics, bad for moms to be looking up that, and bad for that number to be going around, because those are facts. Hell, I got CT. That's just the facts tell me got some form of it. Stage 1, I have no idea. I'm blessed. I think I'm good here, but who knows, right? That's just the numbers say that, and a lot of my friends too. That's just the reality of it. And hopefully the cases that it doesn't progress into something that is going to be crippling or debilitating. But that's the science, and that's why. And this is what Tua's got to think about. Like, like you can't determine it in a live patient, but what's going to be, your diagnosis if you keep playing the game like this? And I think, first of all, I think the NFL might decide, nah, man, you might need to stop. We'll make sure you get guaranteed money. We'll get you all the guaranteed money you want. You just need to leave the game voluntarily. Just leave the game voluntarily. Because the Damar Hamlin thing. Remember they guaranteed Damar Hamlin's entire contract? Do you remember that?
Yeah. It wasn't quite the same amount.
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying, like, my point is the NFL is thinking about this kind of stuff. They're like, dude, we'll guarantee you a whole damn contract, just in case you need to leave the game. Now, fortunately, he didn't. He's still playing the game, and God bless him. But the NFL might, they might say, hey, Miami, don't fight him.
Hey, can they get him to? Can they be like, give him the money, and then we're gonna get him to lead our flag football team in the Olympics?
Boom. Well done, Patrick. Well done. Look at you. You could be a spin man. You should be a publicist, man. You'd be a crisis management right there. That was brilliant right there. That's a hell of a spin. You're right. That's exactly what they should do. It just say, you know what? He's going to start training now. Go ahead and announce it. Boom. He'll be the first one in the history of the world to represent America in flag football. That's that's nice. Yeah. I like it. And then he can be like the representative that helps them promote flag football around the world. And Patrick Davis, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, call him an idealionaire for a reason.
There you go.
That's money. And honestly, I think they should do that. I just don't want it to come to an uglier situation than we've already seen for Tua. And he admitted he contemplated retirement, and he would have been stupid not to to have contemplated, considering your
Yeah,
quality of
and I
life going
mean,
forward.
and we have to look. I mean, I know he's got 2 young kids now,
Oh, man,
so
yeah.
that changes things. I know for a lot of people that when you don't, you kind of are living more for yourself, and at a certain point, you're not living for yourself anymore. So, yeah, you may make decisions slightly differently at that point, because and like that's the thing we talked about before. But like his culture, how he was brought up, those are generally very, very tough guys who don't show anything and don't. And so there's a part of it where showing any weakness and showing, giving up, that people would be like, well, but I think in 2024, we're far enough along to go, you're not giving up. You're just not really shortening your lifespan and quality of life by risking something. And then what happens? You get another one 4 weeks later. It's way worse. And now, would we have the same conversation again? At what point do we stop having this conversation and say it's done? It's done.
Yeah. Agreed. And you don't want to wait you don't want to get to a point of no return.
Yeah.
Where there's irreparable damage done, where you know what I mean? That's what we don't want to see. I'm with you. I think they should. And by the way, we gave the stat earlier, at least a factoid earlier, that his new deal that he just signed includes $167 million guaranteed for injury. 43 million of that has already been paid, so he already has that. If he's medically cleared to return to football but opts to retire, he will forego the remaining $124 million unless there's a a settlement of some kind. And if he's medically forced into retirement, he has a right to collect the $124 million remaining. I say that, maybe they should split the difference or something, man. Give him $80 million and say, man, if you retire right now, we'll cut you a check for $80 million, like right now, and just give it to you in installments over the next 20 years if you want that. Whatever, whatever you think, we'll give it to you. Well, we don't want to fight you on it, because they need to move on too. It's Mike McDaniel. He might need to think about moving on. This is, as a head coach, and now you don't want to be selfish. This is about Tua's health, but when you're thinking about the organization, you guys are a bit in limbo now too. You're in purgatory with this thing going on, and you got guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, whose contracts, you got these contracts that you just signed, big money deals. Tyreek Hill ain't getting no younger. None of these guys are. I wonder if the Dolphins are thinking about, drafting another quarterback potentially in the future, even with Tua. And being like, all right, Tua, you're here, but we got to draft. We got to go draft. We got to go after a high level quarterback here. We got to, just to, as a insurance plan. You can't have Skylar Thompson out there trying to make playoff runs. Ain't gonna work.
Nope.
So they might need to do what the Atlanta Falcons did. It's crazy, but you might need to do it. Invest in a quarterback highly and say, you know what, we're still gonna try to go draft a quarterback in the top 10. We're gonna just trade away and do it, because otherwise, if he keeps trying to come back and you're gonna let him come back, you're always basically gonna be in quarterback purgatory. He goes down at any time.
You can't put Shador in Miami.
No,
you can't put Shador in Miami.
You can put Quinn there.
You can put Quinn there. Quinn would be fine. But Shador in Miami with Mike McDaniel as the head, I feel is just a recipe for disaster.
Not gonna work. No, I agree with you on that. Not gonna work. That's just you're just asking for some scandal. You're asking for scandal.
Yeah.
You're asking for scandal and of some kind. No, I agree with you. I don't even know, but those guys are gonna be drafted so high. If you're Miami, how do you get back up into that that area of the draft when you're, I guess if Tua's out, bro, I guess you'll be a bad team.
Yeah.
So
you can go back and get Trey Lance. Wasn't Miami the team that traded Trey Lance to San Francisco? Trade that pick away?
Oh,
come full circle.
Oh, wow. You could be right about that. There you go. That might be, maybe, yeah, that's an experiment. Oh, man, that dude is not ready to play. But he would help you tank. He would help you tank. What if
I think all those quarterbacks on their roster may help you do that.
That is true. That's a good point. Why do I need to go trade for a guy to help me tank? Skylar Thompson you can tank with Thompson.
No. Yeah, you can do that. You can call Jacksonville, I guess, and see if they want to part with Mac Jones.
Nah,
and see if there's anything left in that tank.
I'd rather just lose and go get me a QB, man. Yeah. I guess I don't know. There's a W fan host, W fan 660 up in New York, and he has started the campaign for the Giants. Don't win for Quinn instead of the tank for Tua. Don't win for Quinn.
Like that.
Or the arson the season for Carson the reason.
That seems a little long. That seems a little long.
It seems a little long, but yes, arson the season for Carson the reason. Don't win for Quinn flows a little bit better. Don't win for Quinn. Like tank for Tua was easy. Tank for Tua. What did CJ Stroud have one of them? I don't know if CJ
No, because no
Stroud's
one wanted
name.
CJ Stroud.
Yes,
Remember?
right. There's
It was
the
Bryce Young
testing.
was the dude that everybody was going for.
Oh God, yeah, wow.
But I don't think
man,
I don't.
talk about avoiding a disaster if you're the Texans.
But
That'd have been bad.
Yeah, but I do think too. I don't know if there was anybody in that class that was for it, but yeah, I had winless for Wembanyama.
Winless for Wembanyama, winless for Wemby. Yeah. I don't know if any of them kind of flow. I don't know if CJ Stroud's name really flowed with any of those, but you're right. Nobody wanted CJ Stroud because he failed the cognition. Remember the cognition S2 cognition
that
test?
S2 cognition test that is no longer in business.
1 year. We talked about it for 1 year. Oh no, we will. One off season, actually. Just one off season we talked about it. And now CJ Stroud literally put that company out of business. We won't even hear. I'm going to look him up and see if they're still in the business, or basically CJ Stroud having the greatest rookie season ever for a quarterback and him failing the S2 cognition test. And people decided, okay, well, that's not a good evaluation tool. So throw that out of the way. That thing's terrible. I was like, oh, man. So a lot of money, I'm sure, was invested.
Can we try this one?
Test.
Is this one better? I don't think it's very good. Play like heck for Beck.
Play like, oh, there you go. Yeah. I like that. Play like heck for Beck. There you go. But then you got to play like heck. It's like,
I know. I'm trying to find something that rhymes with Beck.
I was saying, it ain't easy. That's why I said the arson, the season for Carson the Real, like, give you props for that. That sounds like a haiku of some kind. Well done. I mean, that's legit because it ain't easy to get Carson and Beck and I got it. All right, we come back. Let's hear from Steve Sarkisian about the UTSA Roadrunners. We'll hear from him. Also, we're going to hear from Jeff Traylor talking about this Texas UTSA matchup. All of that and more when we return right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Low and Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to talk some Texas football here. Continue previewing their matchup versus UTSA. You know what? First, can we hear from the Jeff Traylor? Can we get this Jeff Traylor sound before we even hear from Steve Sarkisian and media availability yesterday? Jeff Traylor was on his coach's show. He was asked about the matchup playing up against Texas this season, and he was very, very brutally honest about the disparity between the two teams.
And arguably the best team in the country. And there's no embellishment there. I think I've always tried to tell you guys the truth the best I could about what we're fixing to play. We've never played anything like this in our 5 seasons here. I haven't. I'm not aware of the 8 seasons before me.
It hasn't happened.
But this is the greatest gap there's ever been between our talent level and the opponent we're playing against.
Damn. Okay. Did he? Like I said, I hope he talked to his team before he said that, because that is. I mean, if I heard that, if I played for Coach Traylor, I'd be like, "So you saying we got no shot at all? Like, we got no hope here at all, Coach?
Coach, you trying to lull him into a false sense of security? Because
I think you did it.
I mean, you are really sugarcoating. You looking for a job over there or something?
Maybe. That's a great point. Maybe he's like, hey, I might be opening over there. They pay well, and I love Austin.
Just telling you, Texas right now, what a great school. They are great people over there.
Just want to say shout out to Chris Del Conte. He's awesome.
I'd like to note that not only is the talent difference, but I have never been out coached by somebody so much better than Steve Sarkisian.
Right. The breakfast tacos better in Austin they are in San Antonio. Let me throw that out there too. Like just going in. Like, what is happening, Coach Traylor?
I would rather spend my time on Red River than the Riverwalk. Just saying.
Seriously, that was I was shocked when he said it, but that's a compliment to Texas. I haven't looked at the schedule. I'm going to do that actually here and go look at the 5 years he's been there and what teams he's played. He's saying, Texas, anybody. He said the 5 years he's been there, he hadn't played anybody this year.
And I mean the other who I'm guessing is probably the announcer for the games or somebody like that. Just I don't know, the 8 years for me. He goes, no,
nope.
We've never played a team that has a conversation to be number 1 in the country.
Yeah, so they're basically saying, and they haven't been around that long, right?
That's what he said. So 5 years for that, 8 years before him. So not a long time. So 13 years.
I'll go look at the 13 years. But he's right. If you haven't played anybody who's in the conversation to be number 1,
if you've never played a top 5 team, then
he's right about that. All right, that's crazy. That is love. He was, and I think he's put it out there in case it is a 50-something blowout win for Texas. He'd be like, "I told y'all didn't believe me. I told y'all when I was doing the coaching show." And then if they do keep it closer than that, he can be like, I'm proud of my guys, man. My guys, they fought like hell. That team could win a national title, and look how my team fought. Even though there's a big disparity, a Grand Canyon-sized gap in the talent. All right, let's hear from Sark, because I think the biggest talent advantage is probably a quarterback for Texas. Quinn's playing like a guy who could win the Heisman this year, and then they got Owen McCown is the starting quarterback for the UTSA Roadrunners. But there's a lot of Heisman hype surrounding Quinn. He's right now one of the leaders with the best odds to win the Heisman. But here's Sark saying that, you wouldn't even know that he was the Heisman favorite right now if you watched Quinn.
I don't even know if he's at the top of the Heisman odds. That's why it's going to be good for him. That's why I think he'll handle it really well. He just doesn't consume himself of what other people think. He's more focused on what he needs to do to perform. He's more focused on how he can support his teammates and be the best quarterback, leader, teammate that he can be. So he's not one of those guys that is on social media all day long. He doesn't carry his phone around everywhere that he goes. He's focused on what does he need to do to put himself in the best position to be successful. And that goes all the way to his nutrition, his diet, his sleep patterns, who he associates himself with, his preparation, his work ethic, his understanding of the game plan and the checks and why we're doing what we're doing. So I think that consumes his time more so than what odds or polls or whatever people might think. I mean, we're in week 2. We got a long way to go.
All right, that's start talking about the Heisman hype surrounding Quinn right now. He also talked about the pass rush, and we've been talking about it too because when you look at the matchup, one of the main points of vulnerability, if you will, for UTSA is their offensive line. They don't pass particularly well. They don't run block particularly well. 35 pressures allowed so far in 2 games, according to the UTSA website. 7 sacks allowed in 2 games. 15 quarterback hits allowed in 2 games. That's a lot. Those 7 sacks were by 7 different players in terms of the half sacks and how it was divided up. 17 tackles for loss allowed by this offensive line. So this should be a line with the Texas defensive front that they are salivating. This should be a stat pattern for the Texas defensive front. So here's Sark talking about really that Texas pass rush and how this is a game where they need to prove their worth.
It's been pretty good. You know, we didn't get a ton of opportunities against Colorado State. You know, it was kind of like they were going to run the ball or throw a screen, you know, and then every once in a while kind of throw an out route, you know, so there wasn't a lot of great ops to just go rush the passer. I felt like last week, although Michigan, I think, had a game plan to try to run it and work the clock and keep our offense off the field, at some point they had to transition to start throwing it. I thought the pass rush was effective of moving the quarterback off the spot. And you know, we got the sack, we got a couple hits. I really think, you know, one of the interceptions was caused by a pass rush by Ethan Burke. It was kind of a high throw that Manny tips up and Makuba gets the pick. But the one thing we need to improve upon is, yes, we're rushing the passer and we're pinning our ears back and we're going. We can't create these running lanes for these athletic quarterbacks. And I thought we saw that last week where the quarterback was able to get outside of the pocket. And now that puts a lot of stress on your secondary to try to guard people that long. And then ultimately kind of bit us there at the end. That was the touchdown that they throw at the end of the game. Was we had a great pass rush. I think we all would have wished we would have sacked him. We had a chance to. We didn't. He gets out of the pocket and then throws a touchdown pass there when we're in cover 2 and, you know, guys are now plastering, trying to guard him. So we've got to continue to rush, but we also got to continue to contain the quarterback and not give guys, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 7 seconds to throw a ball.
Yeah. Eddie Lee Marburger is one of the other quarterbacks that played versus Texas State. He has a little bit more functional mobility than Owen McCown. So we'll see if Texas can get home. They should at least get 3 sacks in this game. If they don't, guys, then maybe we have overrated the Texas pass rush from the edge, because this group, they might be the worst pass protection unit. Texas, man, ULM. I guess ULM might be worse too. But the next 2 weeks, Texas should get, 6 sacks over the next 2 weeks, something like that. I haven't done much ULM prep, but I can't imagine ULM is a really good pass protection unit.
Let me throw in, Jeff Traylor did say Owen McCown will get the start. He said earlier this week that he would be the QB1 going into this week as well, that he, even though he got pulled from the last game, that he would still be the starter this week.
Yeah. I said, I wonder if he was just pulled because it was such a blowout early, because Texas State scored 35 points by halftime. I think it might have been a blowout. He figured, this is our best quarterback. I don't want him to get hurt, because we do have pass protection issues. They allowed 5 sacks in week 1 versus Kennesaw State. So I wonder if we'll see something similar, though, if Texas gets up big in the first half, we'll decide we need Owen McCown for our conference run. We don't need him to sustain an injury or something in this game where Texas is going to be pinning their ears back and, pass rushing like a mofo against this unit. And I wonder if you'll see a similar path or a similar process for the UTSA Roadrunners. All right. The other cut I want to get to here is about secondary tackling. And Sark was asked about some of the things that have been most surprising for him so far this season. And he brought up the secondary and their ability to tackle. It was big versus Michigan, also really big versus Colorado State. Only 3 missed tackles in the entire Colorado State game. Here's Sark talking about tackling in that secondary.
Man, they really are. I'm glad you noticed that. I mean, I think that's, if I could highlight 4 or 5 things from the season that I've been impressed with so far through 2 weeks, I would say our secondary's ability to tackle right now. And they're not just, especially at the safety spot, they're not just getting them on the ground. We're striking people. I mean, we're making hard, tough tackles in the open field, and it's a variety of players. And so, when I say Michael Taff or Derek Williams or Andrew Makuba or Jelani McDonald, what Jalen Gilbo's done, I kind of refer to him there, and Manny's playing physical. I have to credit the coaches, right, to some degree, because we've been drilling this and we've been wanting to play a certain style. And the fact that Coach Gideon, Coach Joseph have done a nice job with those guys of building their confidence and putting them in position with the fundamentals and techniques to make those plays has been big. But I also think it's the style of player that we have too. Of these guys are really athletic people, and it's kind of that old way of thinking. The safeties are just kind of your big, strong safety types. We try to recruit guys that have really good range, really good flexibility, have cover ability, but yet have the ability to tackle. And I think that that's showing up for us right now. These guys are tackling at a high level.
Oh, he really wanted to say versatility, didn't he? A position flex. He was close. He was just like, well, they got range. He's finding new ways to say it, but he's basically saying,
I think someone told him he said it too many times.
There's probably something like that. We're talking about it.
Yeah.
Rod B just says that's your word of the day, right? They're going to start every time you say it, they're going to break out the Pee Wee Herman word of the day celebration.
Why is there a thesaurus on my desk?
No, he was so close to saying it, dude. He wanted to say it. He just stopped himself. That's all right, sir. Trust me. I understand. I feel you. But it's that secondary right now, guys. There's not a group on defense playing better than the secondary. There's not a group on defense playing better than that secondary right now. And I would hate to even divide it up among the nickels and the safeties and the corners. They're all playing really, really good at a really high level. Makuba just won the Thorpe Award DB of the Week recognition for the way he played. And some people who saw him play said that that was the best game they've ever seen Makuba play, even going back to his Clemson days. Here is Sark talking about Andrew Makuba and his impact on the team so far.
Yeah, no, I think Andrew is one, the experience that he had. It was we wanted to try to find an experienced safety. It just happened to be that an experienced safety from Austin, from LBJ High School, from a really good program at Clemson, got in the portal. And then, we had some natural connections to him on our team. Jade Barron and he are good friends going back to high school. He knew a couple of our guys of being back in town during the off season and whatnot, of being around our players. And so I think it was somewhat of a natural fit for him. It was obviously a very good fit for us to get such an experienced player with position flex. He played not only safety at Clemson, but he also played star. And so that position flex was important for us as well. But the thing I've learned about Andrew is he is a heck of a practice player. And he practices hard, he practices physical, but he practices smart. He stays off the ground, and his practice habits and his preparation habits carry over to the game. And I think that's why he puts himself in really good positions in game. And it's allowed him to make some of the plays that he's made so far.
So Andrew Makuba had his best game and got recognized by the Thorpe Award as the DB of the week in college football. And Pro Football Focus has Jade Barron as their third highest graded cornerback in college football right now. Well, in the Power Four, I should say, in the Power Four conferences at an 86.4 grade. So he's third right now. That secondary is playing really well. And Jade Barron is the guy we thought would be in the Thorpe Award conversation. Maybe Makuba's in there too. That group is right now playing like one of the best overall secondaries in the country. All right, we come back. We'll play some more of that sound in the 9 o'clock hour. 9 o'clock hour, we'll also dive into some other topics, just some trash talk going on between the Bengals and between the Kansas City Chiefs, because they got a big matchup coming up this weekend. We'll preview week 2, Cowboys and the Texans and their week 2 opponents. And we'll also get back to some conversation about Texas versus UTSA. But coming up next, we got Off the Record. On the other side, wacky, crazy stories from the sports world or beyond right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Lohan and Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Rodcast. It's time to get to a little off the record here. All right, now I got a couple of pieces of audio that I want to play. So there, you got some rivalries that are happening early on in the season this year. You got rivalry games happening because of all of the realignment. In college football, you got rivalry games that usually would be happening later on in the season. I think the Apple Cup is one of those rivalries that's happening really early. It's just kind of weird for that to be the case. And one of them is Colorado State. And we remember Colorado State, of course, was one of the Longhorns' opponents. And they will be facing the Colorado. And there's some trash talk going on between the two. And I remember last year there was a lot of trash talk going on between Jay Norvell and Deion Sanders, and then him saying he doesn't like, people wear glasses indoors, and his mama said that you should never do that. And they start talking about each other's mama. And Deion brought his mama into the pregame festivities. I mean, it was just crazy. All right. It ended up being a really good game, I believe. It ended up going to overtime. And, and Colorado pulled it out, right? I believe in overtime.
Yes. That was at the beginning of the Colorado, and then they pulled out this big win and then overtime, and we thought they were going to do it, and then they were playing, and then it went downhill. Yeah,
it kind of just fizzled out. But that was early on in the season, and there's a lot of hype surrounding Colorado. So Colorado State, they're looking for revenge, and this rivalry's happened early. Torrey Horton, who's the best player, he's the one guy on that Colorado State team that I said could have played on the Texas team. Here is what he had to say about the motivation that Colorado State has now for playing Colorado. Man, talking about, hyping it up, and he might be writing a check that his can't cash. Here is Torrey Horton.
We owed them one, and that's just something that's been sitting on everybody mind since we came back from break. We owe them, and we walked away from that game as we kind of left it all on the field. I don't feel like we left it all on the field because we should have murdered them guys, and they came out with that attitude as they were on top of the world, and this ain't no Cinderella story, so we coming for revenge.
Yeah, they came out with that attitude and thought it was going to be a cakewalk. They saw the reports, 27.5 points or whatever it was. And they got a rude awakening real quick. And I think it goes to show that the hype, the media train, all that, it only gets you so far. At the end of the day, you have to line up 11 guys against our 11 guys, and we'll find out who wants it more. And we'll see how far Instagram followers gets them.
We all came here to play football. So at the end of the day, the millions of followers and fans that they then produced and got, and celebrities that then jumped on their side because of who Deion Sanders is, at the end of the day, Deion Sanders ain't playing. It's those players playing. So those players better back up on what they speak about.
Man, that was Braden Fowler Nicolosi, the quarterback, who was the other guy that was talking with him. Yeah. Am I tripping? Or is that a lot of trash talk? That's straight up bulletin board material, man.
This is also, I believe this is the same interview though, where they came out and they said they both turned down $600,000.
Yes, it is.
We're gonna shock the world and win the playoffs. They were really cocky beginning of the season. I wonder where they're at right now. Judge the cockiness right now, but.
This is why I believe they were offered 600 G's, because why would they be that cocky unless they were offered some ridiculous? Because otherwise, why are you that cocky? You're Colorado State. Man. You shouldn't be that cocky.
Hey, Norvell got him hyped up in the offseason.
He's got them hype and ready, man. They talking some trash, so they better beat Colorado, because they don't. They're gonna have a lot to answer for, man. The two stars basically they put their name on it. Like, hey, the Instagram followers you got, they say Deion ain't playing, man. You know what I mean? He coaching. He ain't playing though on the field. All right. So I got to watch that game to see if they perform, if they are actually up to the task. All right. Another some trash talk going on at the NFL level. We love when sports gets petty. It's always fun. So the Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs are facing off this weekend. It's going to be a huge game. I hope it's a really good game. And one of the only quarterbacks that has been able to take down or vanquish the Kansas City Chiefs and beat them in the playoffs has been Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And I want to talk about, basically Jamar Chase, and he's been taking shots at Kansas City for a while. Remember when they asked him to rank like or at least to respond to the quarterback rankings.
Yeah.
And when he wouldn't even
say
mention
number
Patrick
one.
Mahomes.
Yeah, he wouldn't say
Yeah, he's
number
like, I'm not mentioning that guy. No, I'm not talking about that dude. I don't like that dude. And I thought he was just joking, but he may not like Kansas City. So here's Jamar Chase when he was asked about playing the Chiefs on Sunday.
Is there a certain feel or vibe when you're facing that team, a team you've played so many good games against and meaningful games?
Yeah, the energy's there, both sides. I'm sure they know we don't like them. They know they don't like us. So I mean, the energy already there. It's not really much we got to say now to this point. It's been 4 years now, so everyone gets it.
The chirping and the talking, does that make it more fun for you?
In the game, yeah. You know what I'm saying? When the media come, y'all just blow it up and then make some stuff out of it. But I just wait till the game come now. I'm smarter than that now. I'm 4 years in.
There you go. We don't like them. They don't like us. I love that. To have that kind of angst in a regular season matchup, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I know. He said some other things in there too about, I believe that the AFC road goes through them, which you're like, you can't say that when you lost to the Patriots, man. You can't. You gotta humble yourself a little bit after you lost to the Patriots.
I would think so, because we talked about that. Wasn't that vote the most surprising? Was that the most surprising win?
Yeah, it was.
That was a surprising outcome of week one. Like nobody saw that coming. It's like, how the hell did they do that? So I hope that Joe Burrow and the Bengals bounce back, because I hope that's a great game. If not, if they play like they did versus the Patriots, it's not going to be a good game. I mean, the Chiefs are going to roll on them. How about this? Also, more trash talk. The cornerback Cam Taylor-Britt, who plays for the Bengals, he stated about Xavier Worthy's debut, which I said he had the best rookie debut for any rookie in the league in week one. He said, quote, speed. That's all. That's about it. He can run straight. That's all. Ain't nothing special about Xavier Worthy. That's just speed. That's about it. He can run straight. So we'll see. When he gets a matchup on Xavier Worthy, they will be bringing out that quote. So that's some trash talk, a little petty trash talk happening in the NFL with some of these rivalries going on. All right, let's get to the break. We come back. We'll dive into Texans versus the Bears in that week 2 matchup. Cowboys and Saints. We'll hit that one first. We'll also get into a couple of other topics. The Aggies have a big game coming up versus Florida. So we'll look at some of the other big games in college football as well. All of that and more right here when we return on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, woo! Football 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. 512 Friday means my co-host, the Idillionaire Patrick Davis, plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Brody Lane, and they're playing tonight at Buck's Backyard.
Oh man, I love those guys, man. And Buck's Backyard ain't far from here, man.
No?
I didn't have I don't know. I don't know if it'll work around the baby's sleep time for me to go hang out at Buck's Backyard with Brody Lane.
Well, and there's football in the night too, man. There's still football.
That is true. You can watch it at Buck's Backyard, though. You can watch it.
Watch
TVs
football.
out
That's
there.
true. They don't have some TV out there.
Yeah.
Buck's Backyard. There you go. Good salesman there.
Yeah, there you go. So go out there and see a great band, Brody Lane, out there at Buck's Backyard. You can watch your football in the process, too. All right, good stuff there. Appreciate Patrick coming up with all of the great jams for 512 Friday, but also coming up with the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the day, which is already posted on at the Horn ATX on X. Go check it out for yourself. But what is the topic, Patrick, for the Big Fat Poll of the day?
Big Fat Poll today. How many points will Texas win by against UTSA? Right now, 25-40, pulling away with it with 42% of the vote, 33% for 40-50, 13% going 50 plus, and now we're down to fourth place, 11%, 1-25 points.
There's those UTSA trolls. I respect it. I respect you guys, man. I'll be loyal.
Saying three touchdowns. Ooh, only won by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, no, that would be moral victories don't exist at Texas, but they certainly do at UTSA. You stay in this game for 2 quarters or 3 quarters. That's a hell of a moral victory. I mean, that embarrassing, shameful loss you just had at Texas State, you can erase a lot of that from your memory with a really good competitive 2 quarters against Texas. So moral victory, like I said, for Texas, you can't enjoy that. But there are a lot of other schools, moral victories are a thing. And UTSA certainly is. All right, so there you go. Also, my man Patrick wants to know via the text line 512-447-3776. Give him your favorite game day superstition or superstitions. Maybe you got a bunch of them. And also give your score prediction on the text line there 512-447-3776.
Yeah,
I'm going 56. I mean, like 56 to 6 or 56 to 9. I feel like 56. I don't know why 56 keeps coming out, popping up.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, if I scored 52 versus Colorado State, so 56 doesn't seem crazy.
It doesn't. I do like on the text line some of the superstitions people have shared with us so far. We got some more in there. 420 coach says watching Nolan Ryan's. What he says, I wear the same game day shorts and shirt every game. Also have to play Texas fights and Eyes of Texas every morning. For game day
every morning of the game
guess on the game day morning. Yes,
game day. Yeah, that's not bad. That's actually I can see that.
And then
that's a good one.
I like this one. Watching Nolan Ryan's 5th no-hitter, I was laying on the couch about the 7th, started having urge to pee. It got pretty uncomfortable, but I stayed on the couch till the final out. Was not about to jinx Nolan on this historic day.
Wow. Gonna risk was it uromycetitis? You're gonna risk that just
you rather uromycetitis poisoning?
Uromycetitis and die. That's why. All right, that's good stuff. Thank you guys for your contributions. Remember we were just talking about the cheesy sayings and slogans for teams who are trying to motivate their clubs to draft a quarterback really high, like Tank for Tua, and the arson the season for Carson the reason, I believe was the one they do out there. And now it's don't win for Quinn. And I think it's a guy from the up in New York for the Giants, actually, as a Giants fan, who is pumping up the don't win for Quinn. My man Joe here says bounce the check for Beck is the one they should do.
Yeah, we got Daymaker 77 through and season to wreck so we can get Beck. I like just get wrecked for Beck.
Oh, wreck for Beck is good. That is good. That's a good one. Yep. Wreck. Yeah. I like that. Wreck for Beck. Yeah. Get wrecked for back is a good one. All right, there you go. So it's Friday, so we got random topics all over the place. We'll get to previewing the Cowboys matchup versus the Saints, and we'll preview the Texans matchup a little bit versus the Bears, but also look around college football a little bit. There's some really interesting matchups around college football, so we'll take a glance around the college football landscape. We'll do that coming up next time. We also got a Rangers report coming up for you in the 9 o'clock hour. So if you're a Rangers fan, hey, Rangers, I got to say, they are ending the season on it ain't over yet, but they're trending toward ending the season on a really positive note.
They are. The Diamondback series will just erase that. Other than that, they've looked really good.
Yes.
And then these are big. Look, Astros fans are rooting for the Rangers because the Astros slipped up a little bit there in the last couple of weeks, last week or so, have not played great. The Mariners got back within 3.5 games of them in the AL West, and the Rangers were playing a bunch of games with the Mariners coming up. So, go Rangers. As an Astros fan, go Rangers.
Like that.
Spread that lead back out for us a little bit more.
Yeah, keep playing. They've been playing better toward the end of the season. Yeah. And the guys are getting healthier too, and I think that's the story we'll get to in the Range report. The health overall of the roster going forward. All right, so we'll get to a Range report, but first let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and those Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros salvaged a game in their series with the A's with a 6-3 win. Framber Valdez pitched 6 1/3 innings, striking out 6 and only giving up 1 run, and a 4-run 8th inning pulled the Astros to victory. The Astros now head to California to take on the Angels, with Yusei Kikuchi getting the start tonight. The Rangers got a 5-4 win over the Mariners, with Kumar Rocker making his MLB debut. Rocker had a solid start, pitching 4 innings, striking out 7, allowing 3 hits and only 1 run. Jacob deGrom is now scheduled to make his season debut tonight for the Rangers, followed by the return of Max Scherzer tomorrow. In college football, Arizona State was able to edge out Texas State with a fourth-quarter field goal to win 31-28. This weekend, a couple of traditional rivalry games will be played, including Oregon and Oregon State, and Washington State, as well as some top 25 matchups like number 20 Arizona and Kansas tonight, and Boston College, number 24 Boston College, and number 6 Missouri on Saturday. And in the NFL, the Bills' James Cook helped lead the Bills to a 31-10 win over the Dolphins, scoring 3 touchdowns in the game. Tua Tagovailoa suffered a concussion in the third quarter and was down on the field for several minutes before being helped off. This is the third reported concussion of Tua's NFL career, and there is no timetable for his return. This weekend, the Saints will travel to Dallas to face the Cowboys, and the Bears and the Texans will meet up on Sunday Night Football, and that's your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. I want to talk about the Texans and the Cowboys Week 2 matchups. That's kind of where we'll go here, and then we'll get a Range report in. If we don't get it in at the end of this segment, then we will throw it into the next segment. Also, I want to take a look around college football and some of the games that are particularly interesting or compelling to Patrick and I. So we'll do that coming up next segment, get some college football discussion. Let's start off talking about the Cowboys and their matchup against the Saints. Like I said, the Saints are just a really intriguing product right now, because I don't know if any offense in the NFL went through a bigger change, kind of an extreme makeover, if you will, facelift, more so than anything, because they were one of the less progressive, or one of the least progressive offenses, and one of the least modern offenses in the NFL. And now with the hire of Clint Kubiak, who's their new offensive coordinator, they've actually started to use a lot of modern cheat codes, and that really have helped the offense, just modernize and really take it into the 21st century. So I talk about this all the time, and you guys hear me harp on it, so I won't dive deep into it. But, pre-snap motion and play action pass obviously are cheat codes. We talk about that all the time. The Saints experienced in week 1 compared to 2023, they had the highest increase in pre-snap motion, 38% increase from year over year. So from 2023 to week 1 of 2024, and in play action pass rate, they had the second highest increase, 28% increase from 2023 to week 1 of 2024 in play action pass. So they're right now, that Clint Kubiak's got that offense humming. And because of that, Derek Carr is playing well because these are cheat codes that can help your quarterback play well. And because of the way they're playing, Derek Carr is playing in an offense, by the way, for the Saints hasn't looked this good since the post Sean Payton era. They actually averaged 4.27 points per drive in week 1. That was their most points per drive in any week since week 16 of 2020. So it's been a while since we've seen a Saints offense look this good. And is it going to look this good versus the Cowboys? That really is the question, because the Cowboys are going to put more pressure on Derek Carr than he's seen in a long time. And Carr didn't see any pressure really in week 1. They were so good, these cheat codes in Clint Kubiak's offense. He was the 6th highest ranked quarterback in fantasy in week 1. And he only faced pressure. You go look at it for Derek Carr. He only saw pressure on 12% of his dropbacks in week 1. That is a league low, by the way. So he faced the least amount of pressure in the NFL in week 1. The Cowboys, on the other hand, are generating a ton of pressure. Nobody in the NFL actually in week 1 generated more pressures than the Dallas Cowboys. According to Pro Football Focus, they had 40 of them jokers, 40 pressures. The team that's next closest in week 1, according to Pro Football Focus, was the Seattle Seahawks, and they had 29 pressures, 40 of them. And Michael Parsons was a monster, 11 pressures, 6 hurries, 4 quarterback hits. He had a pass deflection. He had a sack. Cowboys had 6 sacks. They hit the quarterback 17 times. And remember, I gave you guys the historical kind of context of that. Those 17 hits on the quarterback, only one team last season had a game with 15 quarterback hits. And that is the most hits on a quarterback since the Pittsburgh Steelers played the Denver Broncos in week 2, and they had 18 quarterback hits. So this Cowboys pass rush is nasty. I mean, it's going to put a lot of pressure on Derek Carr. It's all about how Derek Carr handles it, and no quarterback handles pressure really well. Right? You go look at every quarterback's metrics, they dip and they get worse and deteriorate when they are exposed to pressure. But under pressure last season, Derek Carr under 50% completion percentage. And if you go look at his completion percentage when he's kept clean, he's top 5. So he's the top 5 completion, top 5 efficiency in terms of quarterback play when he's kept clean. But when he is under pressure, under duress, his numbers drop down to about 20th in efficiency. So that is the story of the game. Will the Cowboys generate the same kind of pressure that they put on Cleveland? Now, Cleveland was missing their 2 starting offensive tackles, and they were 3rd in pressure rate overall in week 1. But if the O-line for the Saints is much better, which I think it is. I mean, like I said, they had the lowest pressure rate in the league in week 1, or lowest pressure rate allowed on dropbacks in week 1. So it says they're pass protecting really well. And you go look at their run blocking. This could keep the Cowboys from being able to pin their ears back and go after Derek Carr. You go look at the run blocking for the Saints, and Alvin Kamara, he led all running backs who had at least 10 carries in yards before contact. 3.6 yards before contact. Joe Mixon had a hell of a day. He led the NFL in rushing yards in week 1. His offensive line gave him 2.7 yards before contact. And that was top 6 in the league. That was one of the top 6 best numbers in the league. And yet Alvin Kamara, 3.6 yards before contact. That's a big number. So if they're able to run the ball against this Cowboys front, then they always say you got to earn the right to rush the passer. You got to earn the right by stopping the run. So stopping the run is going to be key. I believe Alvin Kamara had 20 through the first 3 quarters. He played only 57% of the team snaps and earned only 15 of 27 carries in that week 1 matchup. So it seems like they used him more to close out that game, but he was still really, really effective. And Kubiak is from the Shanahan tree, so he's running that Shanahan zone blocking running scheme. And Gary Kubiak, the 13 seasons he spent as an offensive coordinator or play caller, his offense is ranked top 12 in rushing yards in each of those 13 seasons. Top 5, 10 times. He's running the Shanahan run scheme, and it works, as we know. And it's going to work there. Cowboys, Mike Zimmer and the Cowboys should know this running scheme really well because they see it a lot. In the playoffs the last couple of years. They see it. What do you think Green Bay was running? That's Matt LaFleur. He's from the Mick Shanahan coaching tree. He was running it too. They faced the 49ers player. 49ers are running it too. Got to figure out a way to stop it. Zimmer actually does have experience against that Mick Shanahan zone blocking run scheme because of his time in Minnesota, and he was playing Green Bay. So he's got some experience facing that system. So that to me is the only way the Cowboys pass rush doesn't overwhelm the Saints, is if the Saints are able to run the football and therefore keep the Cowboys pass rush at bay. That's their hope. But man, 40 pressures, 18 of those 40 pressures, damn near half of them came in less than in 2.5 seconds or less. That means they're screaming around the corner, DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons. Michael Parsons had the most pressures in the league in week 1 with 11. DeMarcus Lawrence was second with 9. Hell, Marcus Nealon, he was in the top 10. He had 6 pressures in week 1. Marshawn Nealon, he had 6 pressures. So he was still in the top 10. He had 3 guys in the top 10 for pressures last week. Like I said, I don't know if the Cleveland Browns pass protection offensive line was just that bad. They were missing their 2 starting tackles, or if the Cowboys pass rush is just this ferocious. Maybe it's a little bit of both. Probably a little bit of both. Okay, so that's my breakdown about the Cowboys and the Saints. Let's talk Texans and Bears. The Bears, because it's just on the face of this matchup, you think, oh man, the Texans, they should annihilate these Bears. I mean, they should make quick work of them. But we said that and Patrick brought this up earlier in the week, you go look at the play disparity between the Texans and the Colts. You'd have thought the Texans could have blown out or at least beat the Colts by, in a decisive manner.
Yeah.
And that was not the case.
Yeah, it was Texans had the most plays run in the NFL in week 1. The Colts had the least. And the time of possession did double. They had 40 minutes of possession for the Texans, 20 for the Colts. And it was still a 2-point game.
Still a 2-point game. So, and the biggest reasons were block punt and 3 50-plus yard passes you gave up. One was a 60-yard touchdown. And like I said, I usually would think that's just, bad luck for the Texans. They'll be fine. They'll be able to adjust and they'll rectify and remedy those issues. But the more research I did on it, I wonder if this is, something, if this is foreshadowing a potential systemic issue for the Texans. The only reason I say that is, first of all, not a lot of teams in NFL history have given up 3 50-yard bombs in a game. It just doesn't happen. Hell, if you go look at last season, you only had last season in the entire season, no quarterback had more than 1 completion of 50 or more yards, 50 or more air yards. And hell, he had 2 completions of 50 or more air yards in the same game. And last year, no quarterback had more than 1 all season. And you had 3 50-plus yard completions. I thought to myself, man, it didn't happen a lot. And now I got the context to back it up. So that's number 1. Number 2, we heard from D'Amico Ryans earlier in the week saying those were scouted looks. We actually prepared for those plays in practice. We knew the plays they were going to run to try to exploit us on the deep ball. Still couldn't stop it. That's 2. Because coach said, yeah, we scouted that. It's not something. Basically, D'Amico Ryans like, that ain't my fault, guys. I put that into the practice, right? Put that into the scout team reps, and they still allowed them to complete 3 50-plus yard passes. And then I looked at the ASS of A.D. Mitchell. We talked about that earlier. And congrats to A.D. Mitchell. He was great at the highest ASS. That's his average separation score in the league in week 1, which was great. And not wait for him because I think Anthony Richardson missed him on 3 potential touchdowns and explosive plays in the passing game. But it wasn't good for the Texans either because that means that separation score, if he's creating that much separation, then he's doing it against the Texans secondary. And that it could have been a whole lot worse than those 3 50-plus yard bombs y'all gave up. You could have been a team that gave up, I don't know, 3 50-plus yard bombs and a couple of 30, 40-yard bombs to A.D. Mitchell. If not for Anthony Richardson being off and that was a penalty on one of those, that was an illegal contact, it could have been worse if you watched the game. So that's number 3. It's I don't like that. And then I look at the stat that Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley, they actually had good games. Now, I do think they were matched up on AD Mitchell, and they weren't able to he had separation and he had a step on those guys, and for some reason they couldn't connect. So I think the corners are going to be, that's something else you got to watch. But the corners didn't give up a lot in that game. Like the corners, Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley, they played relatively well in that game. And that's another thing to keep in mind, that if they didn't give up a lot of plays in the game, then who did? Because Kalen Bullock, who's also another young player for them, that rookie, he actually played, I think, 56% of the reps. D'Amico Ryans recently said he played so well that he thinks that they got to get him more reps. So I'm like, well, he played well. That means he didn't give up those deep passes. So that means they must have attacked just the safeties and attacked that nickel. And that means they were targeting certain players. They were looking for certain players to attack and exploit.
Yeah. I think
that also concerns me.
They also loaded the box a lot, I believe, and were really trying to shut down the run game. Maybe if they pull back on that and put another guy out in that secondary, I think they ran some light secondary a few times. But there was guys on them. They just didn't win 50-50 balls, some of those as well. But yeah, when you look at, basically Lassiter and Stingley played the entire game. Jimmy Ward and Petrie played the entire game. And then you had a couple other safeties that came in on some plays.
Yeah.
But those four guys were in every single play of the defensive play of the game. So somebody has to take some of the flack for that. And if it's going to be Petrie and Ward, that's where it looked like it was kind of more their issue, that they weren't quite on there. And if might fall into the same issue they have on the offensive end on protections, that they just need to work some more on communication and making sure pre-snap everybody's where they need to be pre-snap, because they were not. It wasn't like they were getting beat terribly. Now the Adonai Mitchell ones, AD Mitchell ones, he beat him bad a couple times. But the other ones were, they got beat, but it wasn't, you were a step behind, not 5 steps behind. That's, you were there. True. So that seems more fixable. That seems like that's just, you read it wrong. You made a, wrong step. You're in the wrong direction, wrong place, but you can fix those. The AD Mitchell ones that he missed, those were more glaring because there was some of those where he just shook them out of their shoes and was gone. That one, but that goes to the flip side on the offense of the setting protections, that it just didn't look like the O-line was communicating well enough either. So there may be some issues of, you just got to go make sure that they're communicating a little bit better on both ends of the ball.
No, I agree with you on that, because like I said, in addition to pass defense, which I think they got to figure out, and Kamari Lassiter, I have here that he allowed 1 reception for 8 yards, Stingley 3 receptions for 12 yards. That's according to Pro Football Focus. So that they're, and like I said, that doesn't include them being essentially a step or 2 behind when AD Mitchell ran his routes and they just couldn't connect. But just remember what they actually gave up. They were targeting the safeties, specific guys. Also, something to keep in mind, you just brought it up, pass protection. The Texans allowed a 38% pressure rate in week 1 to the Colts, and 4 sacks. The reason that's concerning is because Chicago's got 2 really good pass rushers on the D-line. They got Darrell Taylor on the D-line on the edge. They also have DeMarcus Walker on the interior D-line. Those guys they were top 2 in the NFL in pass rush win rate at their positions in week 1. So Texans better figure it out quickly on that defensive line. Now, CJ Stroud was great, even with being under pressure. He was hit 10 times. There were 10 quarterback hits. But he was under pressure, and I thought he played really, really well, especially on those 3rd and 4th downs. Keep in mind, last season, the Texans were one of the worst teams. Not the worst. They were bottom half of the NFL on 3rd and 4th downs in that game versus the Colts. 9 of 16 converting 3rd and 4th downs, and Stephon Diggs was a big part of it. He had 6 receptions, but 4 of those came on 3rd and 4th down. 3 resulted in a first down or a touchdown. And you go look at that's when we saw some of CJ Stroud's best throws come on 3rd down and 4th down, critical situations. He led the NFL last year in completions, basic conversions, I should say, on 3rd and 10 plus yards to gain. So that's when he actually kind of showed some of his X-Man ability, but the ability to protect him is going to be big in this matchup. And I think that's something else that I'm a little concerned about, is the 38% pressure rate and the 10 quarterback hits on CJ Stroud in week 1. 4 sacks too, by the way. So that's something they got to figure out. You talked about the pass protection. Or you can just run Joe Mixon again and just run Joe Mixon 30 sometimes, and they ain't got to worry about it. But they ran him against the Colts a lot, and still they did not keep the Colts pass rush at bay. And I didn't think the Colts really had an elite pass rush before the season started. So that might be something that the Texans have to be concerned about. And Keenan Allen, he is definitely going to be their top target. He had 11 targets, ran 25 routes and earned 11 targets, but they only had 4 catches for 29 yards. They want him to be the number one guy. And it seems like DJ Moore is going to be more the explosive threat. Romo Dunze is dealing with an injury of some kind, but I mean, the Texans, if they follow the game plan that the Titans had defensively, they should be able to stonewall Caleb Williams. They ran a lot of simulated pressures. They had a lot of pre-snap disguise, forced him to process something different pre-snap and post-snap, and it led to a horrible performance. 3.2 yards per attempt, 55 passer rating, 93 passing yards, less than 50% completion percentage. If the Texans do that to Caleb Williams, kind of follow the same game plan as the Tennessee Titans, I think they'll be, successful enough. I think they'll win decisively, but they got to fix their pass defense issues and their pass protection issues. All right. So there you go. We come back. We'll get into the Rangers report on the other side. And also we'll dive into Rod's rant, which will be us looking around the college football landscape at what games are most compelling to us. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Let's get into some of the big matchups of the day. Close to home, I think one of the big matchups Longhorn fans are interested in, obviously that's not Texas versus UTSA, has to be the Texas A&M versus Florida matchup. Texas A&M going on the road to face Florida at Florida in the Swamp. The latest news about this matchup, and I saw it from On3, and I'm not sure what the status is at this current moment, but based on the new injury reports, availability reports, I believe is what they're actually termed, the A&M quarterback, Connor Wigman, he's been listed as questionable versus Florida. So I don't know how often they have to update the availability report. We've got to get another update, but that's going to be a huge story for the Aggies if Connor Wigman doesn't play. And his backup quarterback is going to be big for both of these teams because Graham Mertz actually had an injury in their last game against Samford. He had an injury in their first game, in game one for them, and it led to DJ Lagway getting the start against Samford, who was their week 2 opponent this past weekend. And he's one of the top highest rated recruits in the country. I believe he's from Texas, if I'm not mistaken. And he had a hell of a game. I mean, he had 456 yards passing. Now, it was against Samford. So I don't know how. I'm sure Samford's not good. All right. It was against Samford. So take that what you may. I don't know their level of competition. They couldn't have been great. But damn, 456 yards of passing. He had 72% completion percentage, averaged 18 yards per attempt, had 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. And, so everybody saw him on that game, and he also ran the ball. He's actually a guy that's got some dual threat ability too, but it was his passing. He's got a cannon for an arm. I mean, really, he just makes some freaky throws. And so now the fan base is upset because they just saw him throw for 400-some yards. They're like, man, we want that dude to start. And Graham Mertz is a veteran quarterback, played a lot of college football. He's a glorified game manager, and he's good at managing the game, but he's not a catalyst. He's not going to spark anything for your offense. They don't really have a lot of elite weapons on offense for Florida, so they need somebody that can, be an offense in themselves, like an offense in one. And that's essentially what DJ Lagway is. He's his own offense. You got to have a game plan to stop him, number one, and then you got to have a game plan to stop everybody else because of the talent, the elite athletic traits that he brings to the table. But he's not going to start. Graham Mertz is going to start. But I bet you see not only a package for DJ Lagway, I bet you see him early in this game, especially if Graham Mertz isn't getting it done. Now, on the other side, for Connor Wigman, his issue is he can't stay healthy to a point where he can actually get a chance to play against elite competition. And when he does play elite competition, he doesn't rise to the occasion. Here's his passing grades and metrics versus Power 5 and versus non-Power 5. And in his career, he's got 9 starts, I believe, under his belt. And they're all at the beginning of the year. They all kind of start with the non-con games. And then by the time he gets to conference play, he's already dealing with the injury and already hurt. But his passing grade versus Power 5 versus non-Power 5, 59 passing grade versus Power 5 opponents. Non-Power 5, 94 passing grade. Big time throw percentage versus Power 5 opponents, 3.1%. Non-Power 5 opponents, his big time throw rate rises to damn near 10%. Turnover worthy plays, 4.7% turnover worthy plays versus Power 5 opponents. That number drops to 2.7% versus non-Power 5 opponents. Yards per attempt versus non-Power 5 teams, 10 yards per attempt. When he faces a Power 5 team, 5.8 yards per attempt. Adjusted completion percentage goes from 64% versus Power 5 teams to 84% versus non-Power 5 teams. He can't stay healthy enough to be able to give you an adequate, accurate sample versus elite competition. And when he does face elite competition, he does not rise to the occasion. So I know Connor Wigman projects to be a guy, and they had him in some first-round mocks. Matt Miller had him in a first-round mock. I know the Pro Football Focus guys really like him. But it doesn't pass the eye test or the availability test just to be available for his team. So the Aggies, not sure. Every time I pick the Aggies, it blows up in my face. And I want to pick the Aggies here, but if I don't know what a starting quarterback's going to be, that would be stupid.
Yeah,
I think
they're a 3-point favorite.
But man, without knowing, I don't even know who the backup is. But you're right. You said it, and I think it was an astute observation that in college football, the backup sometimes is better. A lot of times,
that's what Florida feels.
Yeah. They do. They feel like DJ Lagway is better.
There's rumors that if Mertz starts the game, they are going to boo Mertz until they pull him out. That is
the fans really want to see this because he's like one of the highest rated recruits in the country.
Yeah, that was the rumor is that there's Florida fans who are trying to basically start a groundswell to basically boo Mertz out of the game
and get Napier fired. Probably the same thing they won't.
Yeah, they're basically like, hey, both of y'all can leave. We're good with y'all. Put in the guy
with you.
Take Mertz with you. Y'all leave. Y'all are dismissed.
Oh man. And yeah, I was I was right about that. Apparently DJ Lagway is from Texas. Sorry guys, I don't keep up with a ton of recruiting. He is from Texas, and apparently he's from a place not far from Aggie land. Like there are some people that believe that essentially DJ Lagway, if he ends up leaving Florida, say Billy Napier is fired, and then he ends up leaving as a result, a lot of quarterbacks leave after there's a regime change. There's some rumors, some scuttlebutt that he could end up with the Aggies. How about that? He's one of the top quarterbacks in the class of 2024. He hails from Willis, Texas. It's an hour's drive from College Station. And then people are not really, I don't know, they're not hype and not sold on Connor Wigman anymore just because they're not sure he can stay healthy. And he looked really good versus McNeese State though. But once again, it goes back to my point about the Power 5. When he faces Power 5, he had a 55. If you go look at it, he posted a 200 QB rating versus McNeese State and had a 55 against Notre Dame. I don't know if you can trust what you see from Connor Wigman unless you see it versus elite opponents. I don't know if you can trust it. So I don't know. I think I'm leaning Florida in this thing. Every time I pick the Aggies, it blows up in my face every time. Every time. It did it in week 1. I was like, Aggies going to beat Notre Dame. They're going to do it. They're at home. The hype. I like the defense. I like the matchup. And then Colin Klein's offense just looked dreadful in week 1. So I'm torn, but I'm just going to lean Florida just because I don't know who the Aggies quarterback's going to be.
I would assume it would be Marcel Reed, who played some in that McNeese game. Marcel Reed is a freshman.
Ooh, on the road in the swamp. Freshman.
I mean, it's the swamp is not quite what the swamp once was.
That's very true. Good
but
point.
Again, but that is who apparently they would go with. He is a 4-star prospect out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that, Patrick. Okay, real quick before we get to the Rangers report, the Sooners will be facing Tulane. This is interesting because Tulane might give them all they can handle. They got a really good quarterback, Darian Mensah at Tulane, who's been playing really well. He's a freshman, but he's actually played really well so far. The Sooners offensive line is not what it used to be. You go look at it, their offensive line, it was in last week, the Sooners' new look offensive line placed 91st in pressure rate allowed 31% pressure rate. And that's why Jackson Arnold, 100th among FBS quarterbacks in Pro Football Focus grade under pressure. And they allow a lot of pressure. Now, Tulane doesn't get a ton of pressure. They had a 26% pressure rate in week 1. That was 103rd. So they don't get a lot of pressure, but that's going to be a problem for the Sooners going forward, man. That old line is not holding up well. Yeah. All right, let's get to our Rangers report before we get out of here.
The Rangers report is brought to you by Texas Truck and Trailer.
All right, Rangers are hoping their season ends well, and one of the bright spots so far has been the play, or at least the debut of Kumar Rocker and you brought this up during the Horn headlines, Patrick. He was great. 5-4 win for the Rangers. He looked really good in 7. How about this little stat for you? In 4 innings pitched, 1 run allowed, 3 hits allowed, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, and 17 swings and misses, 17 whiffs on 74 pitches. His 17 swings and misses are the most by a Rangers pitcher making his Major League Baseball debut since the stat was tracked in 2009. He broke A.J. Alexi's mark of 11 in 2021. So People excited about Kumar Rocker. Now your Rangers are 71-76, folks.
Yeah. Interesting fun fact about Kumar Rocker. His dad, who the Titans allowed to go to the game, defensive line coach for the Tennessee Titans. The Titans ownership apparently felt it was very important for him to go to the game. So after practice, they let him fly to Seattle to go watch his son's MLB debut. Flew back after the game, would be there for practice, but he's a D-line coach. Looking at his D-line coaching, he has spent a lot of time in the SEC as a D-line coach, and then the Titans and the Eagles. But he's been a D-line coach at Arkansas, Ole Miss, Auburn, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina. He has been a D-line coach at all of those schools. Damn. That dude knows the SEC.
Got you respecting the SEC though, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That is a great factor. I did not know that. That's a good factor right there. Also about Kumar Rocker, another little factor right here about his pitching performance. 17 of those 17 total whiffs, 13 came on the slider. That seems to be his go-to pitch there, the slider. Also, Jacob deGrom will be making his debut tonight for the first time that he's going to be pitching since his Tommy John surgery. And I believe it's the first time since April 28th. First start since April 28th, 2023. And that'll be tonight. And Rangers fans are really excited about getting him back healthy. And obviously, it's the end of the season. There's no playoff hopes or aspirations for the Rangers. But to end the season with some of your main acquisitions like a Jacob deGrom healthy, that's a big positive sign. And to end the season winning, basically winning more games than you did to start the season, I think that's a positive sign for the Rangers too. So there you go. That's our Rangers report, brought to you by Texas Truck and Trailer.
The Rangers Report is brought to you by Texas Truck and Trailer, your premier truck accessory dealer.
All right, we come back. We'll get into Who Said That. That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world. And based on the context clues or familiarity of the voice, we have to identify and recall who said that. We'll play that when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the Horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a 512 Friday. That's when Patrick, my co-host, plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who are we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Easy Compadre, and they're playing Sunday out at the Pecan Street Festival downtown.
Ooh, that's this weekend?
Saturday and Sunday, I believe. Yes.
Ooh, good to know. Got to stay away from
go.
that.
You stay away.
Not stay away like that. Go down there if you want to go down there. But if you're not anticipating the festival being down there, the last thing you want to do is, I'm going to brunch today, and be like, oh no. So I don't want to have that happen. All right. So thank you for that, Patrick. Also, Patrick comes up with the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. He wants to know how many points will Texas win by against UTSA? And right now, the winner, now at least the current leader, I should say, is 25 to 40 points. 44% of you say Texas will win by 25 to 40 points, and 32% of you say Texas will win by 40 to 50 points. All right, let's get to who said that. That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues or familiarity of the voice, hopefully we can recall and identify who said that.
I know it's another home game, but you're from the boot.
Yeah.
Is the Saints, is this a little more special? I mean, because their fans are going to be here. I don't know if you got a lot of friends back home who are Saints fans, Cowboy fans.
I mean, I didn't grow up a Saints fan. So it's a little more fun, I guess you can say. Obviously, after we'll get this win, being able to once again hold the bragging rights. I know I've had some friends reach out to me. I'll be there. I'll be in the end zone. And I've just kind of sent them an emoji and said, "Go Cowboys." And they fired back with, maybe who Dak. And I wrote back, who Dak? So just, good playful stuff back and forth. But it's an NFL game. It's a great team over there. Just looking to go do our job.
Schoonmaker has to play more.
The finger.
The finger. That was Dak. I guess that was the emoji he used, the finger. So Dak talking about playing, the New Orleans Saints. If people forget that Dak, Louisiana. Grew up in Louisiana, so he's got a lot of folks that are Saints fans. We'll see how he handles playing against a team that a lot of folks in his family, probably a lot of friends he knows, are going to be rooting for. Usually, I'm sure they're rooting for Dak. All right, thanks, Patrick, for everything you do, man. Great week of shows. Really appreciate you. Thanks to all you guys out there for listening and supporting us. Really appreciate that. Remember, the revolution will not be televised, but we'll be talking about it right here on the Rodcast. And we love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Have a great weekend, and we'll join you on Monday, same time, same channel. Until then, hook 'em and peace.